Good morning, everyone. Today is December 18th, 2019. And this is a regular meeting of the members of the State Liquor Authority. Present today are Chairman Bradley, Commissioner Ford, Commissioner Fan, Deputy Commissioner Licensing Roberts, we're waiting on Councilman Meyerhoff, and myself, Tom Downey, from the Secretary's Office. For everybody listening, we'll repeat this at 11 o'clock. The full board dates for January and February have been changed. There will be one meeting in January, January 15th. That meeting will start at 10:30, not 10 o'clock. And then the meeting in February will be on the 13th. That's a Thursday. We'll start at 10 o'clock. Those will be the only meetings for those months. We will call items primarily in the order they are assigned in, first in Buffalo, then in Albany, and then in New York City. If there are items in Albany that we expect appearances in New York City, we will hold them until 11 o'clock. As your item is called, please approach the podium and put your name on the record. Please speak clearly because the microphones will pick it up and everything is being recorded. If you have a cell phone, please silence it. If you take a call, please take it outside. Chairman, do you have anything else before we get going?
No, just can we make those announcements again at 11 because I do have something to say to them.
All right. The first item is actually in New York City. It's a request. It's item 2409, a request from the council's office for a emergency summary order of suspension.
Good mic?
The mic's up here.
The mic's up there?
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Robert. Good morning, Chairman Bradley, Commissioner Ford, Commissioner Penn. Robert F. Buckley, Associate Attorney for Office of Counsel, pending this proposed emergency order of summary suspension regarding the license issued to 230 Broadway Restaurant Corp. Doing business as Paria Latina, 5523 Broadway, Bronx, New York, under case, I believe it's 135589. This is not always a pleasant task to present this to the board. It goes against my particular training as an attorney. Where, if the members do agree to impose this order, it's been done without input from the licensee, but then again, there are circumstances which it becomes necessary, and I believe there's a good reasons why this location should be issued an emergency order. Sometimes the board has issues where there are acts of violence requiring police attention. Other times there's fraud, deception. I believe we may have both aspects in this particular matter. Feel free to interrupt me anytime, but very simply, when I received this assignment, I just did a little background research myself, and I found that the licensee applied for a license as a restaurant. The community board asked for at least the first year, closing at 2 a.m., the licensee was successful in convincing the members to afford them a 4 a.m. closing based on the fact that they said there were employees of 24-hour business in the area who would hopefully patronize this location because it offered Latin cuisine, and the board acceded to that. I didn't put it into my memo because I didn't want to get away from the immediate nature of my presentation, but there was a homicide outside the location in October 2016, about 6 months after the license was issued. But there was a hearing, and the charges were not sustained based on the fact the homicide occurred outside. And the video that was seen, the ALJ concluded that the people left in an orderly manner. There was nothing that really the licensee was responsible for. Based on that incident, however, enforcement went there in 2017, and they spoke to a woman whose name was Jeanette, presumably Jeanette Castillo, the principal, one of the principals of the license, who didn't identify herself as a principal. And she indicated to the investigators when disclosed that there were party packages, but she needed to contact another manager, Leo. As you see in my memo, Leo is Isidro Ramirez, who was the prior principal, the principal of the prior licensee, who was also on this license, who filed a personal questionnaire as the night manager from 12 a.m. to 4 a.m.
Did the prior licensee have significant adverse history?
No, none whatsoever, Chairman. I checked up on Cedro Ramirez. I'll call him Leo from time to time. He's had several licenses, but not even a referral, let alone any disciplinary matters. And this prior licensee had no referrals whatsoever. In fact, he holds a license currently for a restaurant, I believe it's on St. Nicholas Avenue, Manhattan, and he's also had prior licenses. Why this license? This license expired, the prior license, so it's called Caridad International. As our investigators then went there in November of 2017 at 11:15, and it appeared to be operating hours, a lounge, no food. The tables moved aside. Mr. Palillo, on behalf of the licensee, settled that matter, indicating that was just a one-time event. There was some performer there who wanted special food to come in, catered in. So really, we really haven't had any referrals since then. We had a few in April of this year, but it seemed that the events were occurring outside. There were witnesses, one cooperative, who were injured. It wasn't until I was assigned this case in just last month in November when we started getting more referrals regarding this matter. We did the radius reports to get the reports of police activity, and particularly I've spoken to a police officer, Roku, RROKU, is noted in my memo. He's a neighborhood coordination officer in that sector where this precinct is located. And I had recently, just a few days ago, a 45-minute conversation with Officer Roku, who said he was a young man, 25 years old, that he knew the club scene as well as being a trained police officer, and that he knew that clubs like this shouldn't operate in this manner, where there's constant violence, constant having to break up fights, constant police attention to this location, without any particular steps taken by this licensee to change things. He's made recommendations about getting a different security force. The security force there was now added to the method of operation after that November 2017 matter, based on the fact the licensee said that the neighborhood required the necessity of having security. Also, Roko's response to that, when I told him about that, he said, no, it's this licensee, the activity of its patrons and its inability to control its patrons from committing violent acts requires security. They try to talk to security, try to be more selective in their admission policies, perhaps try to do all the kind of things that might be done to prevent violence, whether it be early dismissals, things like that. But
Mr. Buckley, can I interrupt you for a second?
Absolutely.
In the memo, on page 8, item number 13, it says, police tried to arrest a disorderly male who jumped his car, made a legal turn, and then attempted to run the police officers over. The officer was trying to stop the car, was dragged by the car, causing injuries and pain. Is there any connection that this person has to the licensed premises?
Well, the thing is, again, the police don't ordinarily go into the location. If they're really outmanned, it's a dangerous environment for them to go in there. They only go there, if there's an inspection for some emergency matter. So as also Roku said, at the beginning of the night, they'll ask, at the beginning of the night is really the nightclub time, which is really basically from 12 a.m. to 4. As you can see, I submitted some referral flyers that also Roku provides to me, that he does social media searches, and that, as it may not be able to be clear on these flyers, but it says the club basically doors open at 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. So really, the police are out there monitoring what occurs outside the location. So in this case, there's really no other business around. So really, the only people in this area would be people who are either coming or going from this location. So there's no direct evidence that they saw this person coming from the location, but I did discuss this with Officer Roque, who had a very clear recollection of what, particularly since one of his fellow police officers was injured and still on limited duty, where they tried to stop this person from hitting other people in the street or on the sidewalk. As police have told me that there's so much traffic problems with double and triple and park in this location, people sometimes have to drive on the sidewalk to get around all the activity that's going on in this place, whether it be the cars.
Let me add one thing. I believe that this Leo was given a summons for the sort of the premise that night.
Okay.
So there may have been a connection, but there's obviously a pattern of violence in and around the premise.
There's a lot more than that. Where it says that the NYPD contacted us regarding a shooting stabbing at 4 a.m. on Thanksgiving Day. Gentleman victim went to the hospital. It says also that there was another male went to another hospital with a gunshot wound to the right bicep. A Crips gang member he was identified as. Was that the same night?
Yes, as also Roku told me, he was present. This was all part of the same incident. It was, again, as very typical that happens here. As people are dismissed at 4 a.m., people get to leave all at one time, more or less. That's when the police have to always be there constantly. There's no question about it. They must be there at dismissal time. It's all part of the same goal. Officer Roku told me the person who was slashed actually was in worse shape than the person who was shot, because the person who was slashed received 150 some odd stitches from wounds to the back, torso. He was wearing some sort of sweater, and it was unclear whether it was a broken bottle or a knife or box cut or whatever might cause slashing wounds. But again, that's really what caused the police to contact the liquor authority to see what we could do about addressing this matter, because they've tried to contact the Police Legal Bureau for news abatement, but as Officer Roku told me, at this point, the Legal Bureau determined there wasn't sufficient basis to bring a news abatement action. So
Mr. Buckley, when you were looking at the history of the location, was the prior license canceled? Is that why there was sort of we're alluding to potential availing here?
No, Commissioner, it was just, as I said before, there were no referrals. It appears to be a gentleman restaurant. Again, no referrals whatsoever. It just expired in, it was March of 15. It was March of 15. No, there was no, Mr. Ramirez, it's Leo, again, his license history is more or less impeccable. But again, this is the person who the police always deal with. When the police try to get video, they always say, talk to Leo, he's the owner. So,
1 second. So there are 3 places called Barilla Latina.
Yes.
And this guy is connected with all of them, at least the former licensee on all of them. And then all of a sudden, he became the lender on one and the night manager on one. It's unclear, at least now, whether he was availing these licenses before and now whether he was, whether the actual owners were availing before and are now in place of the owners, or vice versa. But there's definitely something fishy going on.
We're investigating that?
Yes.
he has a
One more
note.
thing. Go ahead.
Tom said he has for one of these locations, he has a note for $195,000. So he's a very busy man. He has his one license premises he still has. He's the night manager here.
All right, so that in and of itself isn't sufficient for summary. So can you go through the violent incidents that occurred, at least a few of them, because there seems to be a number of them.
Yes. Again, the most recent one was the November 28, 2019, Thanksgiving Day morning, where there was a slashing and a shooting. Before that, in September, there was a person who was robbed and He was shot at, wasn't hit, but one of the bullets apparently hit the nearby post office. There's a post office with a dock where it hit a post office truck in its side view mirror. There was on September 21st, 2019, there was a person who was acting disorderly, fighting with other people. He refused to be arrested or to deal with police, where it turns out a sergeant was injured trying to get this person into the police car. He was grabbing the handcuffs of the police. He was spitting at them. Again, that police officer, Sergeant Giordano, was injured. The firing a gunshot was on September 30th, 2019, where a $20,000 watch was removed to this person, and again, a gunshot was fired in his direction.
And there's also significant evidence that the security guards are spraying people with mace.
Yes, there were one or two instances where there was mace. Again, a lot of these things are, perhaps not reported to the police. We've got, a lot of these complaints there. The victims are not cooperative, so we don't really have all these incidents documented. But that's why I had to speak to Officer. Well, it was important to speak to Officer Roku to indicate that not everything that the police have to do at this location is actually documented in a summons, arrest, or complaint. It's just really the constant presence of the police. And there's only so many limited amount of police on the midnight patrol, and sometimes they have to get officers from other precincts to assist in doing crowd control or fights. In fact, also Roku just the other day, yesterday, gave me 2 more referrals for people. One person had a very expensive coat, a Montclair coat, almost $3,000, stolen. Another person said they had their purse stolen with things. So it's not only violence; it's personal property being stolen, and it's the type of apparently clientele that frequents this location. And again, as I said from the beginning, that the deception would be that this premises was supposed to be a restaurant, but it clearly it may be a restaurant during the daytime hours, but clearly it's operating as a nightclub from at least from 11 or so to 4 o'clock, 11 or 12 to 4 in the morning.
Okay, I think we're.
I'd like to add one thing, that this Leo has been given a summons for disorderly premises by the police 4 times since August. I think there's one more in May or June. So 5 times in connection with whatever these incidents are, the police basically found the manager at fault for not keeping the place under control, and nothing seems to be changing.
Okay.
Now there's
That's May or June of 2019.
Yes, and then August and September and October, and then another shooting in November.
Mr. Buckley, did you check with the police? Because I see that this thing was approved in February of 2016, and I find it hard to believe that there weren't incidents during that period of time. Did you check to see if there were actually incidents that the police dealt with that may never have been referred to us as they should have been?
No, honestly, I did. That's why I submitted the radius reports.
Can you do that and check and see
Yes.
and see if there, for whatever reason, the referrals were not sent to us? Because that does happen periodically for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I was more interested in the immediacy of it. So no, I didn't ask any questions as to why this premises wasn't on our radar before this time. I believe that to maybe some degree, with this neighborhood coordination officer, perhaps the philosophy of the police department is to try to address problems on their own. Not being there to just issue summonses or make arrests or be, have friction, but try to resolve problems. So that could be part of the issue.
All right, well, just make sure you check with them, and if you have to go up the ladder or you have problems doing that, contact me. I think we're ready.
You wrote that?
Yes.
Commissioner Fan.
This establishment has been licensed since April of 2016. It's disheartening to know that after they got extension closing time from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m., the licensed premise essentially have gone downhill and restaurant into a full-on nightclub. And because it's become a site of numerous incidents of violence, gunfires, slashings on a regular basis, I find that this licensed premise is a drain on police resource, and the licensee has clearly failed to properly supervise her staff, her managers, and it's evidence suggests that she's not, really present there, and that the police officers don't actually know her as the licensee. And for this blatant disregard of SLA laws, I find that this location is an imminent threat to public health, welfare, and safety. And for that, I vote to summarily suspend this license.
Commissioner Ford.
Well, to add to what Commissioner Fans just said, the violations of no food, books and records, that kind of stuff, it almost pales in comparison to the more serious violations of violence and disorderlies, shootings, slashings, thefts, assault, serving intoxicated individuals. It's clear this place is not operating as they were licensed by this authority, and they are a pretty obvious threat to public health and safety, so I vote to summarily suspend.
I vote to summarily suspend for all the same reasons.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Michelle, I've got nothing in Buffalo.
We have no items signed in Buffalo.
Thank you. You can give about 10 more minutes and you can cut the feed then. Nobody shows up. I'm going to move
Do
to...
we have anything in Buffalo?
Not right now, but just in case.
No, I mean on the calendar.
We have Buffalo items.
Okay.
All right, we're going to move to Albany. First item is 2367, Triple Crown Wine and Liquor Inc.
Good morning, John Springer for the applicant. With me, Tracy Green. Now, any protesters here that you might inquire?
Is there any protesters here?
No one signed in.
Okay.
This will be a new liquor store on the west side of Saratoga Springs. We're aware that there are a number of stores downtown and the south side, but there's been tremendous growth on the west side of Saratoga Springs, including in this neighborhood. This location would be in a shopping plaza with plenty of off-street parking. It's about 2,000 square feet. It's directly across the street from a liquor store that closed a few years ago when the owner died. That store did well, but when the owner died, that was a freestanding building with parking. The successors tried to take it over, and they didn't know how to run a store, and it just sort of died a slow death. The building's dilapidated. It looks like it's about to be condemned, which wouldn't be a bad thing because the neighborhood is changing. There are 2 new apartment buildings that went up in the last year. One on West Avenue, one on Washington Street. It shows, there's development and interest. There's in 2020, there's a new hotel going up across the street behind the post office. There's a post office downtown, and this is Saratoga's getting significantly big enough that there's a post office on that side of town as well. The applicant, as I said in my submission, is eminently qualified to do this. He was a police officer in Gloversville for 22 years. Since then, he's run a number of businesses. He's currently running a liquor store. There's a corporate change application to divest his interest, which he'll do if this application is approved. He'll run the store himself.
Who owns the other? Who's his partner in the other store?
I'm the junior partner of a woman by the name of Melanie Nealis.
What's her relation to you?
None.
You guys applied together?
Yes, we did. Family friends.
That store has been in existence for about 5 years. It has about, 20% New York products. We
She's
anticipate.
buying you out?
She is not selling to Tammy Sinacropi.
That's a third person.
She's a person that worked for my liquor store, or worked for me for many years.
I see. So she's the manager at the store, and
She
she's
is
buying.
not.
She's
She
not
is not. She's just an employee there.
employee at the current liquor store.
At the current liquor store.
And you're going to sell your shares, which is how much?
49%.
49%. Good. How much is she paying you for?
$12,500.
Does either of those individuals have relatives that own liquor stores? other than the one that you own?
No, Tammy is my sister. She has no other
So,
relatives.
okay. So you're selling to your sister?
Correct.
49% of a liquor store is only worth $12,500.
Depends how much the liquor store makes.
The applicant wants to take his own words why he chose this location.
How did you come up with the $12,500?
Good question. She's my sister.
I understand that.
Trying to treat her well. It's the money that she had available to purchase. I had an opportunity to move into the Saratoga area, and it's really where I wanted to be. I wanted to be out on my own, have my own store and my own license.
What'd you invest in it when you opened it?
$11,000.
So you and your partner invested $12,000?
$11,000.
She invested, your partner,
We invested together. Both of us invested $11,000 together.
you bought inventory, paid the rent, the first 2 months rent for $11,000?
Yes. And started the store. We since put other money into it, but we've also been paid back our interest in that.
So why is this one costing you $50,000?
Stock, bigger area, more involved, higher rents.
And you've been paying rent since June, I guess, right?
Yes.
Yeah. The store is built out.
Okay, go ahead.
You ready to vote?
No, unless he has anything else.
The applicant wants to tell you why he chose this location. He can say it much better than I can.
Is it Route 29?
It is. It's on the corner of 29 and West Ave. There was a store across the street. Retail sales in that area have increased in the city of Saratoga 9.7% last year alone, no less than 3% increase in sales over the past 10 years. The area is obviously growing. There's a 600-unit apartment complex directly across the street, which is still vacant at this time, but is due to be occupied at the beginning of next year. There's another location on Western Ave that is up and growing also. It's a new apartment complex. The owner of the mall itself is a personal friend of mine, and she offered me to get into that location at a decent price, and it was an opportunity for me to get out on my own. So I wanted to open a business that I could run myself. Obviously, I've done it for the past 4 years and done very well with it, and would like an opportunity to get out on my own.
Just because there was a $60,000 loan taken out for the renovations of Funky Monkey Liquor Store.
The one that's current.
Your current, there's a $60,000 loan taken out for that.
That is due to be paid off in 3 years, 36 months.
But so you didn't invest 11, you invested. I'm assuming
No.
you're on the hook for half of that loan.
Hold on one second, sir. The Funky Monkey Wine and Liquor owns one half, does not own the building itself. Funky Monkey is one half of that building. There are 2 licensed premises in that building. One is TJ's Beverage Center, one is Funky Monkey Wine and Liquor. So there's 2 separated stores in that building. 86 East Fulton owns the building and handled the change in the building of the building, the construction of it. Had nothing to do with the liquor store. It was.
But who's the loan from? Who in the name of? Is it in the name of the building owner, or is it?
Funky Monkey Wine and Liquor Corp. is the recipient of a $60,000 loan.
That was prior to my ownership. That was across the street at a different license at 95 East Fulton Street, not 86. That was Chad and Sharon Tayback when they took a loan for $60,000 to remodel a building, which is directly across from 86 East Fulton. That's where we originally started.
Is there a reason why that was submitted as part of your expenses?
No, I do not know why that would be submitted. That was through the Economic Development Corporation.
Right.
I'm a board member of the Economic Development Corporation. That loan has since been paid off by Chad and Sharon Tayback, who were the original owners of Funky Monkey Wine and Liquor Corporation.
You're aware we just put a store in Saratoga a mile from you?
Putman Wine, yes.
No, by the bottle.
Yeah, yes. That's a wine store. You put a restriction on it. We see a different.
Well, it's actually a liquor store, but we put a restriction on it because they offered the restriction.
Okay. We see a distinction in the locations. Ms. Weston, we're more.
Well, you might see a distinction in locations, but it's a mile away in a driving community. So why do they need another one literally a year later?
If you look
Does
at
the population increase that much in a year?
Sales have increased. Sales increased 97%.
Well, at one store they did, at the other store they didn't.
If you look at the aerial map, there are no premises to the west of us, and there's you can see in the aerial map and LAMP all the subdivisions. Once you start moving west to where we are, is where it goes from being a downtown sort of feel to a more suburban area with single-family homes, a lot of large subdivisions, and you have to go pretty far to the west to find another liquor store.
I mean, the one liquor store appears, which is 1.2 miles away, appears to have been hurt pretty significantly.
They're all bunched up downtown.
This gives shoppers an opportunity outside of the downtown area, which is congested with one-way traffic. I mean, now it's entering or leaving Saratoga. There's an option. The sales at the other liquor stores have continued to increase over the past 4
I
years.
just told you that's not the case. One did. You're correct in that. The other two did not.
I didn't have that information, sir.
Downtown has metered parking, one-way streets. We're in a shopping plaza with plenty of ample off-street parking.
You guys have any questions? No, good.
Moved in?
Yep.
Commissioner Fan?
Judging from the numbers, I don't really see a need for another store, so I'm going to vote to deny.
Commissioner Ford?
I do know we did license Putnam recently, but I do think that's in another part of town, through downtown and all that kind of stuff. And
Actually, not Putnam. It was past. Putnam was 2013.
Right,
This-
past.
Right past the basket.
Yes, I'm sorry, I was saying correctly. So you are on the west side, on the way out of town. I think you might attract business coming from west of you. You are replacing a store that was across the street that closed in 2016. The other stores were already there. 2015, Curry's opened up, and that opened 15, except for one of them. So I vote to approve.
Jerry Brown?
I'm going to vote to deny. We just only because we put a brand new store in there in October of last year. I can't see how the sales are going to affect the other sales. It's a driving community. All these stores are within a mile of this location. There's 4 stores within 1.5 miles, I should say. Sales of the closest store did go up, but the sales of the third closest went down significantly over the last 3 years. So I think we need to see what the effect is of the brand new store before I'm willing to put another one in there.
Thank you.
All right, the next item is 2403. This is the resolution by the Dutchess County Legislature to change the hours for package stores and wine stores.
Is there anybody here to talk about this? Okay, come on up.
Good morning.
Hi.
I'm Paige Flory. I am the owner of Boutique Wine, Spirits, and Ciders in Fishville. I'm also a resident of Dutchess County. And thank you for letting me speak today. I just want to talk about 2 quick things about this proposed hours, economic impact and servicing the community. Economic impact. There have been a number of cideries, wineries, distilleries that are open in Dutchess County, including Taconic, Malaya, Hudson Valley Farmhouse, Kings County Cider, Millbrook Winery, Clayton Winery. There's a new sake distillery going in. Pitchfork Cider's there. Treasury Cider's there. So there's a lot of economic activity, manufacturing, that the state has been encouraging to come into New York State. What you need is an outlet for those manufacturers to sell. I serve as an outlet for those manufacturers to sell. Because I am located in Fishville, right by 84 and Route 9, I have 11 hotels adjacent to me that service over 1,100 rooms at a 90% occupancy rate at any given time. So
I've actually been in your store, and that's all correct.
So I am seeing both the local community that is commuting, because I'm right in a commuter location, as well as many tourists. And the problem that I'm seeing is that many of these tourists don't get into town and check in and realize that we are the only county in New York State that closes at 7 o'clock. So they're coming to my door as I'm walking out. And locals, of course, are well aware of that they're frustrated because traffic or late trains prohibits them from getting to a store within the county. So these are two groups of people that are being inconvenienced and not being serviced correctly because of the 50-year-old restrictive law. Now, if you think back 50 years and what Dutchess County looked like, if you close your eyes, the Beacon-Newburgh Bridge was a single bridge with one lane in each direction. This community has changed in the last 50 years tremendously. There are new houses, new people, and a huge tourist community that wasn't there when this law was originally enacted. Staying open till 9 o'clock will service those two populations, at least for the community that I service, which is the Southern Dutchess community. Now,
and the two communities, you're referring to the tourists that are coming in and the producers?
And the locals that are looking. And what I'm saying is that New York State as a whole is encouraging producers, and I service those manufacturers or those producers because I am an outlet for those.
What percentage of the items you carry are New York State producers?
Well, I carry about 200 New York State products.
She probably carries more cider than any liquor store I've ever seen. New York cider.
So I carry probably on or about 200 New York State products in my store, including.
How many total?
I don't know. We just added a ton because it's Christmas. So I'm going to say
Okay.
about
10,000,
1,200 SKUs or so in my store, loosely. However, it's not the percentage that I'm talking about. It's really the sheer number. 200 different SKUs of New York products. And my point being that the New York State as a whole and the Liquor Authority is trying to help these manufacturers, and we're an outlet for that, but we're restricted by hours. And adding 2 hours to the end of the day is important to us because it gives us an outlet to get to those people that aren't getting into our community until past 7 o'clock. So I also wanted to say, regarding my esteemed competitors who oppose loosening this 50-year-old law, I have to say that as the daughter of a very conservative Italian father, I was taught growing up that he did not care what my friends were doing. He wanted to do what he felt was best for me. And please don't tell him I said he was probably right. But I take that and I use that in my business. I want to do what's best for the community that I serve. And that means that I don't do what my competitors do. I don't carbon copy what the competitors in Dutchess do. I don't have the same model store, I don't have the same model pricing, and I don't focus on the same products. And that is something that New York State also encourages. And the way you encourage that is that you actually want independent license holders. You don't want somebody to have more than one license. And that's encouraging independence. And that's what we do. So in that vein, stores can run different models, and that is encouraged by your current laws. So, for example, Summerlin Plaza, which came out in opposition, and they're over in Wappingers Falls. They actually close on Sundays, as is their right. However, My Wines and Spirits actually stays open from 12 to 9, as is their right on Sundays. And our store stays open from 12 to 6. Which just goes to show you that changing the hours and allowing us to stay open or closed doesn't matter, because each business of those 3 examples, all in Dutchess County, we all run our own hours, which is best for our own communities. We are currently doing that on Sundays, and there is absolutely no reason we can't continue to do that if you change the hours.
Okay.
And Yeah, I also just wanted to say that a lot of my competitors that came out against it, many of them don't own the stores anymore. So the people that you saw before you guys in August, I can tell you off the top of my head, Bob Keating from Arlington, he's got a pending sale. Patty O'Shea from Hudson Plaza has a pending sale. So the folks that came out against this to keep laws that are restrictive actually were simultaneously selling their businesses. I'm going nowhere. I plan to retire in this business. I'm very passionate about it, and it's important to me. I'm not looking to make quick money and get out. That's not what we're doing here. So help me grow and help other small businesses coming in like me grow and help us support the other manufacturers in Dutchess County and the Hudson Valley and the state of New York. Thanks.
So the hours in like Columbia, Platinum, Ulster, Green, they're all later than this.
They're all midnight. We're actually only asking for 9 o'clock, which I don't think is crazy.
We didn't, and you're aware, we didn't impose that,
Yes.
the county did, and it's been reviewed a number of times by the county.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Good morning. Thank you for hearing me. My name is Tim Bazinski. I'm owner of Artisan Wine Shop in Beacon, New York. Basically, the issue where a lot of this issue started came from our customer base. Maybe not ours, but I'm saying many people, many stores in Dutchess County, particularly because they were frustrated by the fact that they couldn't get to town, get to the store before the
I
time.
held a hearing on this issue in what town were we in? Poughkeepsie.
Poughkeepsie.
And not, I think, one private citizen showed up, and that person was against it.
I heard
so
that.
I hear what you're saying, but the evidence that I've seen didn't indicate that.
Well, if you look
although
at
I understand your arguments.
Well, you can understand the arguments, but in addition, I'm not sure if you're aware of the thousands of signatures that we've collected from customers, consumers, that have requested that this be passed by the county itself. So there was that additional thing. I don't know if that's in your records or not.
There's probably an equal number that were collected that voted
Absolutely,
against
but
it.
to say that only one person was against it, I'm just trying to make an argument that there are several
The
people
county
that are for
is
that.
pretty much a wash.
Okay. Well, you can say that may be true in that particular case. However, that was the impetus, the reason why. Because each day, we turn people away after 7 o'clock who would like to purchase a bottle of wine. We know that to be a fact.
And I'm not saying, I don't know where your story is, but I know where hers is.
Right.
And I'm not saying that that's not true, but this is a countywide issue. And like, for example, we have a letter from the mayor of Poughkeepsie. Now, I think you probably can understand how in an urban area like his, a liquor store being open late at night creates the possibility of criminal issues that city's already dealing with in other areas. So, I mean, we have to think about this as a county as a whole.
I completely understand your point, Chairman, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate the concerns of Poughkeepsie as well. However, I do not agree with the idea or concept that this is a late time. We're talking about a 2-hour extension compared to midnight that's happening in towns such as Newburgh and other places that are dealing with the same types of issues. It's not like, for instance, Poughkeepsie is the only city that would have this type of issues that were happening. Many other counties have similar issues in other areas, but they're open till much, much later than 9 o'clock. So that's a point that needs to be made.
And may I interject that we allow as a county sales of beer till 4 a.m. We also allow on-premise consumption of alcohol until 4 a.m. as well. So if we are concerned as a county as to consumption and danger,
No, that's not what I'm not referring to consumption. And you might not even be aware of what occurs in urban areas around liquor stores, but that's why we have to pick and choose where every liquor store goes, because there is, in an urban area, you typically have an enormous amount of loitering and things that occur with that loitering that would not occur in a store like yours because of where it is. And
Understandable.
Moving to another point. one of the other arguments is that this is just simply going to spread business out. Even if this did spread business out, this is simply a service to the public, and that's essentially what our jobs are. We are here serving the public. We're doing it in a very respectful manner, and if we end up spending a little bit more time being open simply because our customers would like to buy a bottle or two of wine later on in the evening, I think that is a total positive thing for us to do. I do not believe the idea that we are forced to stay open. As Paige indicated, on Sunday nights there are different hours, different closing times. It can work in a number of different ways, in a number of different facets. Every other county around us, as Commissioner Ford has mentioned or questioned, is open much later than we are. It's not as if Dutchess would be the only county that would have such significant problems or significant issues with this. Other counties are open until midnight, as we've already stated. So the problem about safety and so forth is understood, but at the same point in time, not nearly as dangerous as it would be in other places.
I think the mayor of Poughkeepsie would beg to differ.
He's
having lived in that area most of my life, I know he would beg to differ.
Okay, he's more than welcome to his opinion, and I appreciate that, but 9 o'clock is a very reasonable hour for people to be closed. And again, I do not believe that people are forced to be open. If there is no business happening in your particular place, or the business that you don't want to have happen at your establishment, there's no reason for you to stay open. Close your business, go home, be with your family, do the right thing, be safe. It only makes sense. But what this law, the way it is enacted now, it requires us to close, so it is restrictive of the potential business of other people in Dutchess County, and that does not appear fair to me. So I'm asking the county to strongly consider extending this hour and accepting this proposal that has been twice forwarded by the county.
Not once, to us.
Once to you, but twice. In other words, it was passed, and then it was passed again.
Right, because the county executive vetoed it for a different reason.
Yeah, there's a different reason why you would.
Which I also agree with, because they apparently didn't have a great deal of public input at the legislative level either, according to him. I don't know whether that's true or not, but based on his veto message, it looks like that's what his feeling was.
Well, the second time it passed, it actually passed with more votes on the second go around.
But still no public input.
No, there was plenty of public input because he sent a letter out. He sent a letter out to every liquor store indicating that this was happening, and that was plenty of time for public input. This was also well publicized within local news media and so forth as well.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
And my sense is that the majority of the stores are against it.
But this isn't about the stores again. This is about the people.
I can
and
tell
there's
you,
no reason why we
conducted the
should
hearing, that there were, I think, 3 stores, one of which is now closed, that was for it. Although she did not get an opportunity to speak, and I didn't know she was for it, so there's 4. And then there were over 30 that were against it.
Yes, but of that 30, I want to say 4 stores have changed hands or are about to change hands.
It's still 26 versus 4.
And there's 52. It's half.
It's about half. And also, there is no indication that those owners actually live in the county that we're making the law for. They do certainly own the store there, but they're not necessarily residents. I happen to live in the same county that I have the store in. And
As do I.
so,
Again, it's really about service to the people of Dutchess County.
yeah, and it's
Liquor store owners, if they don't want to open, they don't want to work longer, that's an excuse that they've been using. They've been hiding behind this.
I will tell you that I've actually spoken to people that I know personally that live in Dutchess County. They don't think it will make a difference for them. This
And
is
see-
Then they don't have to open. So that's
But these are not store owners. These are people that you're talking about that you're going to.
But a lot of
That's
my
not my
customers, it does
customers.
make a difference.
That's not
too.
my customer base, and that's not the people that come for tourism and stay with us on weekends on a regular basis. They're not used to this early closing time.
I understand.
And did you guys receive my packet that I sent with all of the? I sent you a ton of the signatures that we got.
Yes.
I
Yep.
sent you a
We have
copy of all of
many signatures.
Yep. And then I
And as Commissioner Fanning pointed out, we have signatures going against as well.
Yeah, I mean, the only quid pro quo to the signatures, and you know, if you read the verbiage on what the opposition said, not all of them, but many of them say that it's a mandatory, and it is squarely not mandatory.
No, that's correct. It's not mandatory.
So, I mean, when you're getting signatures against, and you're telling the consumer that, oh, I don't want to stay open, and the liquor authority is going to force me to stay open, a customer signs. But that's actually not.
And I want to make this clear. Regardless of what we decide here, this isn't the liquor authority making anybody do anything. The county, in its infinite wisdom, and I think it was probably for a variety of reasons, decided to have these limits on the hours. Years ago, as you pointed out, they've been reviewed multiple times, and small changes were made, but not significant changes. Now they're asking for what I would amount to a significant change. Legally, they have a right to stay open much later than that. It was their choice not to. Now they're asking us to not go to the legal limit, but to go to somewhere in between. So I want to make it clear that the county executive's veto, and he did veto this initially, was because he thought that there was not enough public outreach. I agree with him. I think we had a public hearing. I think it was well attended by the store owners, but like I said, there was nobody from the public there. He indicates that they had a committee meeting and basically then one hearing in front of the legislature, and he didn't think that was sufficient. And like I said, I agree with him. But that being said, they passed it, and as you said, they passed it overwhelmingly, and then they overrode his veto as well. So that's where we're at. But all we're doing is deciding whether we should accept the recommendation, which is the resolution that they sent us. Do you guys have any more
Is there
questions?
anyone else who wants to speak on this?
Yes.
We're going to go to council for a moment, please.
All right, we are back on the record after a brief conference with council regarding item 2403.
Given that the legal standard for extending hours surrounding liquor stores have to do with public convenience, and perhaps from the materials that we've collected, it's still a little unclear what the people that live in Dutchess County really feel about it. We know how different store owners, the larger stores versus the smaller stores, how they feel, but the best way forward is probably a referendum for the people of Dutchess County to vote on this matter. And in the meantime, I think we're going to hold it over to look into that possibility before we actually vote.
So can you see if that's possible?
Yeah, we'll take a look at the law to see if there's a way to get more direct impact on the community. And we can hold it over. And if for some reason we find that that's not the case,
Then we'll vote.
you have to vote on the record you have now.
Correct.
So
And,
we're just gonna hold
and I think that the county executive, as I said, pointed this out in his veto message, that he had concerns about the lack of public input. I had concerns at my hearing about the lack of public input, and I don't know whether that was, our meeting, while it was certainly publicized, was not, flashed out over the television screen, and you can look at that two ways. One, apathy, or two, they just were not informed that the meeting was going to occur. Now, if we can't do anything other than vote on this, we will vote on this, but as I said, the county executive was concerned about this. It was obvious that the legislature was not, because they didn't have any further really public hearings or try to figure out what the public input was.
Take a second conference with council.
Yeah.
And we're back on this.
All right, so that, after meeting with council, that's what we're going to do to find out, one, whether that's possible. If it's not possible, we'll vote on the record that we have. That will be at the next meeting, which is January 15th. You don't all need to come to that. These meetings are broadcast, so you're welcome to watch it. If you want to come, you can, but we're not going to be taking any public comment unless you have something different to add. But council's going to investigate that possibility. If it's not possible, then we'll vote on what we got. Thank you.
Commissioner Ford?
Yes, I agree.
The next item you have is 2351, Sawmill Inc.
Chairman, Commissioners, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Sean May. I represent the Sawmill Incorporated. I'm here this morning with L.M.A. Smith, the principal of the license. This is a violation. We submitted a conditional no contest offer. Fine offer is $3,500. I'd just like to add to my submission that this event was uncharacteristic for the Sawmill. It's
been open since the 70s. You can see by the record that they don't, this is uncharacteristic. They have a history of altruistic behavior in the community. They do free dinners for, I said the homeless, but for anybody who wants to come. They do toy drives during the holidays.
So, I mean, whether it's, and based on the record, it does appear to be a rare occurrence, but what concerned me the most about it is the lack of cooperation with the police. I mean, the bartender comes in, the police come in, and the bartender, they ask her who these people are, and she indicates she doesn't know them, when in fact she did.
Went out and said he came to see her at the bar. Yeah, her statement was deplorable. She was fired as a result of the incident.
And then you indicate that there's not security on the premises, but the guy's walking around with a security shirt on. Is that his job somewhere else?
Yeah,
Alan, are you Mrs. Smith, Miss Smith?
Yes.
You advised that you think of him as security.
No, I do not.
Well, then why
Never
did you
did.
tell somebody that?
I never said he was.
yeah.
And does he wear a shirt around your bar that says security on it?
He wears a shirt in. I can't tell him what to wear.
Well, is he a security guard somewhere else?
He's a security guard somewhere else. Yes.
Where?
I guess it was at the casino or someplace.
Well, you said he's in there every day. You don't know where the guy works?
I have no idea.
Is he still in there every day?
No, he's in jail.
For
He
what?
got 9 years for that shooting.
He was he was responsible for the shooting. But in Alan's statement, he did say he came in to see the bartender that night. Glenn.
Okay.
I'll accept. As long as you're going to open, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt because of that, so I'll accept the 3,500.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're done with the Albany only items, and we'll move to the next item, which is 23. Were you the folks here? All right, I'll leave this.
Where are you going?
I'm getting the other items.
Well, ask them what they are.
Under Hold'em Chess, making applications to be able to hold tournaments.
Oh, okay. Did you sign in?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
2402.
2402.
Last item signed it. This is 2402. The request for a declaratory ruling.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
My name is John Muchler. We have submitted a new game that I invented. It's a combination of chess and poker. We were looking to hold tournaments at a facility, and he advised that we check with the New York State Liquor Authority to see if there was any objections of them having us hold tournaments. We did submit the rules of the game as it's laid out to show that it is a skill-based game only, not a chance-oriented game. When I was younger, I played in a lot of golf tournaments. We have people in our family that play in dart tournaments, our chess tournaments. They are basically all skill-based, so this is a game of skill and strategy. And even though there is poker involved, there is no chance to the game. Everybody starts out with an equal opportunity. There's an outlay of the game in front of you. It shows that everybody has the 2 through the ace, all 13 cards. Everybody has 13 cards. They get dealt 2 cards, but those cards are wild, so they're of equal to whatever anybody wants to make. If they want to make them
So
all
if everybody has the same cards, which is essentially what you're saying.
Well, everybody had, the whole deck is dealt out.
Right, but if you know that the cards are wild and you can make the best hand, why would anyone not make a royal straight flush?
Okay, all cards, if you look at, I believe there's a layout of the game in front of you. So all 52 cards are dealt out. Each player, it's a 4-player game, has 13 cards. Then there's an additional 2 cards dealt out, like as in Texas Hold'em, whereas Hold'em chess. So it is based after a Texas.
Oh, so the 13 cards you have that are dealt out,
they represent not just cards, but also game
but
pieces.
they're randomly given to you.
Yes.
They're not wild cards.
Those are not wild cards. The whole deck is dealt out, and then the 2 cards, like as in Hold'em.
Did you understand that?
No.
That changes what you think about it? Because I didn't understand that either.
Please explain.
Okay. The pieces as you see them represent the 2 through the 9 are all pawns. The 10 is the castle. The jack plays as the horse. The queen plays as the bishop. The king is the king. And the ace plays as the queen, because in poker, the ace is the big dog. The queen is the big dog in chess. So we have all those situated on the board. So everybody has the same quantity of pieces in front of them. They represent the same amount of cards, the 2 through the 9. Everybody has the 2 up to the ace. So then to make the game, we deal out 2 cards. Like if you were playing Texas Hold'em, you get dealt two cards. To make it equal, it never did start out this way, but to make it equal so that everybody starts with the same, there is no chance involved, we made those cards wild. If we were playing it as a home game, we make those cards optional. They would just be dealt out as regular cards. But under the tournament rules, they would be dealt out as wild cards. So therefore...
Well, what about the 13 that they were dealt?
Okay, the 13 cards are game pieces also. So when you look at these, and I have some I can pass out to you, they also represent the card value and the chess value as a piece. So to acquire the other hands, you have to have 5 cards in a poker hand. To acquire the other pieces and or cards, you go out and play chess. They're representative chess pieces. Penny, could you get the pieces out of there? They're all watermarked as
Well, these aren't. Oh, so these are cards, but your cards as chips.
cards as chips, but they also represent
Right, a chess.
a chess piece. So what you have to do is after you get your 2 cards, then you go out and play chess.
Well, then how is this not getting these 13? You're not guaranteed in the 13 cards you get a queen. You're not guaranteed a king.
No, you cannot use any of your own pieces in front of you as your hand. You have to go out and play chess against the other opponents.
Then what are these for?
Those are the chess pieces.
But that's random. The chess pieces you get are random.
You have...
How is this not chance, I guess, is the question.
Okay.
Let's back up. The game is about to start. Who gets what? Is there a deal?
Yeah, the game is about to start.
And you've got 5 players here.
Okay, you can only have 4.
Okay, we have 4 players.
I'm not playing. They can play.
You have 4 players here. This is a little easier to show that you are not given these pieces, okay? You only sit in front of these pieces. If you picture yourself sitting in front of a chessboard, those are your pieces that you play with to get your opponent's pieces. That is the same thing that these have become. They are player pieces to go out and acquire your other opponent's pieces. And when you acquire your other opponent's pieces,
then they become the card that
And
they
you put
represent.
together a poker hand from
And you
that.
put together a poker hand from that.
And you can use your wild cards
Yes,
to
to
make
build
the
the
poker
poker.
hand more powerful.
Yes, exactly.
Because if you happen to be in a poker game in a spot where you can make a straight, if you have
Then it's
a
not
wild card,
chance because the wild
then it's
card
not
is
chance.
No, the wild card is anything you want it to be.
Beginning.
Always whatever
Because
you
you're,
want.
Yeah.
You don't get
the
numbers.
chess pieces you get at the initial
Yes.
flag
Yep.
are given out randomly.
No.
No, they're all on the board.
They're all on the board. You sit in front of it. Think that if you sit in front of a chessboard, they're all set up. The chess pieces are set up. You sit in front of a chessboard, you both sit in front of the same kind of pieces. All four people have the same pieces on
Correct
this
me,
board.
correct me if I'm wrong. If during the chess portion of the game you capture the other side's queen, you now have an ace in your poker hand.
You have whatever that, yes,
You would have
exactly
the ace in
right.
your poker hand because the queen is the highest
Right,
value
exactly
piece.
right.
And then you could use your two wild cards to make it three
Three
aces.
aces. So
But
any,
if you had acquired in the poker game ace, queen, and jack, you could use your two wild cards to make it straight.
correct.
Okay.
So there's no randomness.
Okay, explain again how you get the wild cards.
You're dealt two cards.
You just have the wild.
After
you
you-
just have the wild cards
yeah.
at the beginning.
After you sit down in front of this,
No,
No,
everybody's
you
got the
can
same.
make it any card you want.
card you want, so it takes
But can we talk outside for a second? All right, I think I got the gist of it.
Here, let me give you back your piece.
Yeah, here. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you.
We are back on the record after the council regarding item 2402.
All right, so Gary, you had a couple other questions?
Yeah, I think you suggested that there was some bluffing involved, that in playing the game well. I don't quite understand how that would work if everybody can see what everybody has.
if you have ever played stud poker, they represent 3 cards down, 4 cards up. I could have 4 hearts up, but not have the 5th card. I could have 4 hearts up. I could bet that I have a flush.
I understand how bluffing works, but in what context would you bluff in this game? The way it's described to me, you're acquiring pieces in an open board.
Yes,
and the
as
people who
long
are
as-
sitting, if I may, the people who are sitting at the table now know which pieces you have. Therefore, they're all up.
Correct, if they remember them. If they
If
pay
they
attention
remember
to
them.
them. If
Okay.
you cannot bluff a person who has a 5 of a kind. You absolutely can try. I mean,
But why, I guess his question is, why would you if everybody knows what everybody has?
I can understand why it would be bluffing if the cards that the two people that everybody was dealt weren't wild cards. But now that everybody has essentially the same holdings as wild cards,
then you would not bluff.
There could be no bluffing.
Yeah, exactly. You can bluff if you want to. You can. I play a lot of tournament poker. I've absolutely tried to bluff the person with the absolute best hand.
No, we understand what bluffing is,
yes.
but isn't the game itself on the board you showed us? Doesn't that mean every player knows what everybody has?
Every player, as long as they pay attention, will know what they have.
So how would you? If I know he's got 4 aces and I only have 2 twos,
you wouldn't.
He's going to know all I got is 2 twos, so I can't bluff him.
No, and you wouldn't bet either. You'd fold your hand.
But so how would somebody go about bluffing somebody if that guy with the 4 or 3 kings knows what I have, and he knows that it can't beat him?
You wouldn't.
So there is no bluffing.
Not in the way that we have tried to make this an equal game.
Because the bluffing is basically you trying to imply
that you have something more
that I don't have.
Right.
And in which case I would have to have something random and secret that he can't know about.
Right.
There are no down cards in this poker game. Since the 2 cards that everybody are getting, everybody knows are all wild, which could be anything.
Okay. But in the instructions that we sent, you have 3 rounds of play. And at the end of the 3 rounds of play, the 4th round starts betting. So therefore, you may not have acquired the hand that you're looking for. So therefore, if a person knowing what cards you're going for does not necessarily mean you're going to get them. Because there's 4 players on the board. And I have seen many times the piece, even when I play it, many times the piece that I need to complete my hand is also completing another person's hand and gets taken by that. So the betting starts at the end of round 3. There's 6 rounds. So before
how does a round end?
Okay, you make one basic sweep. 4 players get to move. That's a
I see. So the bluffing comes in that yes. I know he's going for a straight.
But you don't necessarily are there yet. And you can say, I think I have a better hand already than what you're trying to get.
Or what I'm going for, I'll get first.
Right.
So it's best to be last. So does each round start with a different player?
All 4 rounds, there's going to be 4 rounds. There's addendum, there's that we did with the cards that we sent in, making them wild and not random cards. The actual play is going to be 4 rounds of play. Now, at the end of 4 rounds of play, or at the end of 2 rounds of play, people may have lost their chips already. But to make it all equal, we are going to not necessarily get up and change the seats, but turn the board a quarter turn. So that in 4 rounds of play, all 4 people will play in front of the same layout one time.
Right, same layout being the same suit, so I would start with spades.
No, it's the same. No, they're not. They're different suited. You'll see the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the 8, they're all out in what we call the playing field. Those 2 pieces that are put out in front of each other are so that there's only 6 rounds. It's not a hour and a half, 2-hour chess game. So we want to make this. You need to get 5 cards for a poker hand. You have 6 rounds to acquire 3 of your best cards. You can get, eventually, you could get
so you're playing chess in 6 moves, basically.
Basically, there's no checking or checkmating. You're literally just trying to acquire the best poker hand.
And how is the starting position of the chips on the board determined?
Starting the chips will not have, when you enter a tournament, in a poker tournament, you're assigned a seat.
Right.
So you will be assigned a seat. A, B, C, D.
Right, but based on that position and where the button is, I know where I'm
yes,
getting my card.
Exactly.
So I'm asking when I sit down at this board, how is it determined where these random pieces are laid out on the board as a starting position?
Is there
a structure for that?
They're already laid out. if you'll see that, they're stationary.
Is that
Just
the same starting point every time?
every time, yes.
Okay, like chess.
Like chess, exactly like chess. So if you rotate, does anybody play contract bridge?
Yes.
So in contract bridge, you play the same hand and you're ordered points based on it. I'm sorry. So we have made it that if everybody sits in, if the board is rotated for 4 rounds, then everybody is sitting in front of the same pieces.
Also not random.
One time off. Now that's not to say that somebody won't lose all their chips by the time they get to rotate that.
Okay. I'm just going to ask that we be able to put this over because I just want to check one thing, which I don't think is going to be a problem for you, but we're just going to put it over till January 15th, and then we'll have a decision then.
Okay.
And like I said, based on what we have now, it looks fine. I just want to double check something.
Okay. And we have a great sale price on this for Christmas.
You patent it?
Yes, there's a patent pending on this. We're looking to make it an app that you can play online. So,
Good luck to you on that.
well, thank you very much.
All right, so, and you're welcome to come January 15th. I don't think we'll have any more questions, but, or you can watch it on video, whatever you want to do. Do you live in Albany here?
No, we live near Utica.
So it's up to you whether you want to drive back or
Where
not.
do we?
It would be right here.
Okay.
Oh, online? I don't know exactly because I've never done it. How do we get?
website, there's a link to full board so that you can live stream, put on the live stream your meetings.
Okay, so we can.
No, I don't need to see unless you guys do.
No. Can I ask you one question before
Sure.
you depart? So I'm looking at this game board that you presented to us. If everybody's not starting with the same position of their chips, does that not imply that there's chance?
No,
No,
but we
because
are.
they're gonna rotate 4 times. They're each gonna play from each position once.
Can I get this board out again? Because it's much easier to see.
Sure.
That's just what he just explained.
Okay.
Wait, you listening now?
When everybody sits down, and if they only played one game, there would be chance. But because if the board rotates 4 times and everybody's playing in the same position,
So this is always constant. So we set it up to be constant like a chessboard is constant. So therefore, if your assigned seat is between the 4 and 5, you can say, well, I wish I was in the 8 and 9. So we are making a quarter turn of the board for 4 rounds.
But you said that if you lose your chips, you may not
You're
get
out,
the 4 turn.
yeah, you're out of the game. I mean, it's a tournament, so it's played by chip count. So therefore,
But then you're not getting the equal opportunity to play all 4 positions.
well, you
That's because you lost, though.
You lost.
Because your skill was not good.
Yeah.
Not because it's random. You'd be the guy that lost.
So couldn't it be random based on where you start your first position? Couldn't I imply that there's a better strategy to playing 8-9 versus 6-7?
But you don't have to play it. You don't have to lose your chips. If you go out and you cannot acquire a hand, then at the end of round 3, round 4 is betting. You don't have to bet. You can just fold your hand, just like in a regular game.
So how does the game end?
The game ends at the end of round 4, and whoever has the most chips, anybody's left, wins.
So
It
if I
goes
decide
on.
that I don't want to risk my chips and try to improve my hand,
Right.
then I'm just leaving it up to somebody else to take that chance and develop their hand.
That's right.
It would be, I guess, in a golf tournament, it would be equivalent to you want to go for the pin, or you want to play it safe and try the 2-putt and get a par. I mean, there's chances out that way too. It's how you play your hand. It's not so much the layout of the game; it's how you play your hand. Do I want to chance it or not?
So you started with saying that you wanted to host tournaments at a licensed premise, and they told you to come here first.
Yes.
And so how would that tournament, the way you were envisioning, how would that work? People were buying in?
Okay, it would be just like they would come in, pay a fee, an entrance fee, and get their assigned seat, get their chips, and at the end of it, there would be prize money based on the entrance fee. Just like in any regular tournament would be. There's no cash betting in the game. It's just strictly tournament play.
Just tournament prizes.
Right, which would be cash
So then you
prizes.
win say you're in a game with 4 people in a tournament, you win that game, and then there's like the brackets, is that how it goes, and you go into another game? Or?
No, actually, the way we had lined it up would be the number of players. If they come in, everything has to be by fours. Yeah, it has to be. So if there's 12 people that come in, well, they're going to play single table tournaments. If there's 16, then we're going to have 4 tables, and at the end of 4 tables, there's going to be 4 winners. They will go to what's called the final table in poker.
All right. And then, right, so it's going to be in numbers of 4, but...
Yeah, you would have to go 4, 16, 64,
right,
128, 256.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, that's held over to the 15th. Right?
Yep.
The next item, which he just spoke.
Whether that's material or not, I don't know.
Or what's the number,
The
Tom?
next item, which is in Albany and New York, is 2377 Sugar Lounge, Inc. We get quite a few people for this one. Everybody for 2377 Sugar Lounge, Inc., please approach the podium.
Good morning. My name is Benjamin Korngut. I am the attorney for the licensee. I believe that there is opposition here and in Albany.
Yeah, and we have a representative here, right? Okay, go ahead.
John Springer appearing on behalf of B&G Brothers Incorporated, the closest liquor store to this existing wine store that seeks a change of class for full liquor.
All right, before you go, is that your clients right there, or is this another store?
My client, Boris, should be there.
Yeah.
Boris, put your name in the record, please.
Boris?
Yes.
All right, so you can go first.
Yes. My name is Boris Yushuvayev.
My client's store is at 342 Troop Street.
Troop Alley, yeah.
The applicant store is also on Troop. It's got a DeKalb Avenue address, but my clients have I was just hired yesterday, so I'm kind of catching up. My clients have a large photograph showing you can actually see the other store from their front store. That's how close they are. Your summary sheet is incorrect. The application is correct. It's 150 feet between these two stores, not 0.4 miles.
Yeah, how do we have that? Or start driving. All right, go ahead.
In any event, this wine store was approved a few years ago. Their sales seems pretty good. They're doing what they said they were going to do. Unique wines. I haven't seen the video of that hearing, but I can only assume that you put this wine store so close to so many liquor stores because they were going to be very different.
I actually watched the video, and it was before my time. That's why I watched it, and there was no opposition whatsoever, and there was no discussion whatsoever. It just got approved. It's the first time I've ever seen that.
I asked my clients if they had protested, and they said they didn't know anything about it.
No, there wasn't any.
Yeah, so I mean that happens. People ask me all the time, how come there's 2 or 3 stores on 3 blocks? I said, well, it happened a long time ago. Nobody remembers anymore. One of my concerns about some of these, specialty stores that come in and they have stipulations on what they can have, or they're just wine, is as the years go by, people forget these things. The authority's not equipped with enough manpower to go out and force stipulations on inventory and stuff. And I just get concerned that over time these things all kind of get
You may be right about stipulations, but I would hope that somebody that has a wine license is only selling wine.
Exactly. I'm
I'm
talking about percentages and things like that. In any event, these people seem to be doing what they said they were going to do, which is great, and they seem to be doing okay. And they haven't had a crazy effect on the area. These stores that are here, and there are other stores in New York City today, they're not getting the growth and the customer base expansion that they would like. I don't think the store has had a big impact based on what they're doing, but should they go become a liquor store, I think they will. Another correction about my client's store, the closest store, is it does have bulletproof glass, but it's one of these partial things where the door is open during the day, and people can go in and pick up anything, liquor, wine, whatever, and look at it. And then only at night, when it gets dark, they don't believe it's safe to It's just Bed-Stuy, still has significant crime problems. The applicant, to their credit, was able to open an open store and, with the unique wines. No one's going to go in there and grab a pint bottle and run out because they don't have pint bottles. The 4 closest stores are within 0.4 miles. There are 6 stores within 0.7 miles. The applicant store is the biggest of the 4 closest stores. And I don't see a need to change the marketplace at this time.
Okay. Let me see that picture before you put it down.
Basically, this is the distance between 2 stores, about 150 feet away.
Just across the street from each other, corners from each other, basically?
Yes.
On the same line. It's on the same line, just a street with divided. They're on the same Troop Avenue, just a street dividing with 2 stores.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Who else is here to speak on this in opposition? Go ahead.
We have a representative from the community board, and I was an ex-manager, the assistant manager of the store, so I want to say a few words, and then the representative from the community also would say a few words.
Let me follow. You're an ex-manager of what store?
Of the Troop Avenue Wine and Liquors. This is my brother-in-law. When he opened the store, I was ex-manager there, the assistant manager, to run the store and to put everything together.
Hold on, I'm not following. Say that again.
He's the ex-manager of my client, B&G Brothers, which is right across the street.
Can we get your name, please?
My name is Benson Shimonov.
So who are you here representing?
I represent my brother-in-law, Boris Yushuvayev, which is on the Troop Avenue Wine and Liquors, B&G Brothers.
He's helping him because the owner can't articulate.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so I was managing the store before, and when we received the letter first time to send our paperwork for the gross sale, we sent it, and after that we never received the letter that saying it's going to be community hearing, the open hearing, so we can come and protest. Because after they got approved, we heard, and I called my lawyer who was dealing with our license, Mr. Buscemi. I called him and I found out they said they're supposed to send the letter, and we never.
Hold on just for a second. I just checked. When they applied for the wine store, we got the gross sale letters, but we got no protests.
I know that. I told you. I watched.
No. I went into the actual paperwork, and the reason nobody was notified was because nobody protested the license.
Right. Okay. But that's all. All right. They're there. They have a license, and I didn't do it. So why don't we stick with this license? Go ahead.
And so basically, my brother-in-law stores has biggest variety of everything. We work with a lot of Brooklyn distillery, like also New York distillery, like Hudson and all that stuff. The variety of liquors we have, and plus, besides that, we take a lot of requests as well for the store, for the client. Any client work, we have a list, wish list is called. Anytime they could ask for requests, the next day or few days later, we always used to have the thing. And since the Sugar Lunch applied for the license and they opened the wine store, in our business of the wine business, we dropped tremendously, and especially last year. Since last year till this year, he lost about $80,000 of sale. So, and because of he cannot keep me in there to manage the store.
You lost $80,000 of sales of what?
Of gross sale.
Your sales indicated they went up by 32,000.
Since last year till this year, the piece on the sale is about $80,000 less. And we have more other people from the other store, but I would like you to take this as consideration because otherwise it will be closed. And representative also from the community board of Bed-Stuy, she's going to say a few words.
Hello, good morning, commissioners. My name is Roll. I'm on Community Board 3 out of Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. I also am on the board of the 79th Precinct Community Council. So what happened here is actually on November 26th, Boris was called by SLA to say, why did he respond to notification? The letter was dated December 17th. He said he never got it. So he said, hold on, let me look in my email. It was not there. He found it in his spam. So I'm here today humbly saying, where is the proof that Boris did not get timely and considerately legal notice of application for this liquor sale to the Sugar Lounge? I also wanted to say that I tried since November 26th. Boris got the call at 1:30 in the afternoon. We tried approximately 7:30 that night when Boris got the information back from his accountant about the square footage and the sales for the past 4 years. We tried to email that to Michael Johnson, first to SLA. When we couldn't get through, we went to the board meeting for Community Board 3 on the 3rd of December. The chair there said we needed to contact Michael Johnson at SLA. We couldn't get through to his email either. The answer came
The
back.
reason for that is because there is no Michael Johnson at the SLA.
Wow, that's interesting. So what happened is we were blessed, and we finally were able to talk with a Miss Mackey at SLA right here at 163 West 125th Street. She was very professional, gave a lot of support, as well as a lot of suggestions that we followed through with. Today we actually left her a copy of all the documents, and so I'm here now just to say that truly, when this Sugar Lounge, also doing business at Vinde Table, whose address for the store to open to the public is 354 Troop Avenue. When they applied for licensing, they put the address as 832 DeKalb Avenue. On that side of the street, as Ben showed you in that photograph, there is no opening for a store. It's all residential. I need to know, what is the legality of that? As far as customer and growth expansion, we don't need it in that area. As someone said earlier, there is still a significant crime rate in the 75 police precinct on that block where Vinde Table is. They just opened up a brand new laundromat that's open up late at night, nice and warm inside, for folks to go and get their extra liquor out of Vinde Table, go into the laundromat where there's a chill corner. And again, the crime rate will go up. Also, I wanted to state that in B&G Liquors or Troop Avenue Wine and Liquors, there is safety net that's up. It's a glass fixture. But within Vinde Table, there is none. I wanted to go on to say as well that doing a personal customer-based survey, as I said, I am an advocate in the community. There was no public outreach to see if the community even wanted this. I want to go on to say that those that I surveyed felt unwelcome. Four-legged pets are allowed in. However, the people who buy alcoholic beverages that are long-term residents do not go into that store. You have a diverse community now there on Bedford Avenue, near Troop Avenue. And so we're asking, please, not to grant this license. When Sugar Lounge...
Thank you, and I'm going to assume, for the record, that you do not represent the community board here. You're speaking for yourself.
Well, there I'm speaking for myself, but I'm going to go on to speak for community board. When I spoke to the chair, Taiwan Anthony, who gave me...
It's not really appropriate for you to speak for him and then to come in and speak for the community board from which we didn't receive anything, did we?
Well, the community board does not do liquor licensing, as we found out at that board in December that we had to come here. But what is important in this case is that Boris never received a registered letter, return receipt requested to his home or his business saying that Sugar Lounge, doing business as Vendor Table, was requesting this application.
Well, he seemed to have gotten his sales numbers to us, so it means he was at least notified in fact at some point, so that does away with that.
Sir, Commissioner, as I said, he got a call from SLA on November 15th.
However he found out, he did find out, so thank you for your information.
All right, thank you, Commissioner, for giving me a chance to have voice.
Thank you. Is anybody else there in opposition?
I do want to say it is 200 feet between the stores, and the examiner used the driving distance as opposed to...
Yeah, the other thing we have says 160. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Chantel Gums. I own Lucky's Liquor on Marcy Avenue. And I just want to say that we also sell wine and liquor as well, and also from local distilleries. And this would negatively affect us in our business.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Commissioner. My name is Juan Martinez. I'm from Genesis Liquor Store on 896 Lafayette. And I just want to say that we don't need another liquor store in our area because it's going to affect our business, liquor-wise and wine.
Thank you. Anyone else in opposition?
Okay.
All right, folks, we're up.
Good morning. My name is Benjamin Corngood. As I said, I'm the attorney for Sugar Lounge, Inc., operating at 832 DeKalb Avenue. I have with me today Angelica Stenanyan, who is the owner. As you know, this is an application for a change in class from wine to full liquor. And for the reasons that I'm about to state, we feel that the board should find that the issuance of this license would promote the public convenience and advantage. This licensee has been operating since 2014 with no disciplinary history. There was some talk by the opposition about residents in the area not being supportive of this. We have attached as Exhibit 1 17 pages of signatures from our customers indicating that they are supportive of the addition of liquor in this store. They are unable to find the selection that we will offer in the nearby stores. And in addition, the ability to buy wine and spirits of a unique variety in one location will serve the public convenience and advantage. And I just want to highlight that this is still going to be primarily a wine shop. The SKUs will be approximately 90% wine and only 10% spirit. So the character of the store will essentially be preserved. It's more to supplement the wine income and to offer customers the ability to purchase both in one place. As I mentioned in my letter, we're going to focus on small batch New York distilleries. As I'm sure you know, New York State has become an epicenter for carefully crafted American spirits. We're going to feature brands distilled in New York State, and particularly within the 4 boroughs. I noted some specific brands: Hill Rock Estate Distillery, Kings County Distillery, Finger Lakes Distillery, Van Brunt Stillhouse Distillery, which is actually in Red Hook, which is not far away. With regard to the other stores, 5 out of the 6 of the closest and B&G, which voiced the main opposition, are actually bulletproof stores. And the selection that they offer is in no way comparable to what we will offer. They offer pints, they offer well-known brands, Bacardi, Jack Daniels. We're not going to offer any of that. In fact, when customers come into the store and ask for larger bottles or particular brands, my client will send them across the street to the B&G because they don't offer them. So there's never, our view is this is not really a competition because they don't offer the same brands. And in addition, none of these stores offer any type of tastings or education or can inform the customers about these types of alcohol. The only one that is a non-bulletproof store is J. Young LLC, and I note that they did not submit a letter of opposition and they are not here today. Regarding all the closest stores, as you can see from the numbers, they've all increased dramatically over the last 3 or 4 years. The sales at B&G from 2016 to 2017 increased by almost 50%, 47%. Sales at Lucky's Liquors from 2017 to 2018 increased by 15%. Sales at J. Young LLC from 2017 to 2018 increased by 36%. And I would note this was all while my client was open for business selling wine. And in addition, my client's numbers have increased as well during the time that they've been open.
Why did she apply as a wine store?
Why didn't you apply for liquor?
Because wine was always my passion, and we actually moved into the neighborhood a few years before we opened the store, and there was just no wine. There was no wine in any of these stores, and also our big opponent, they don't have any wine.
All right, but you're aware at the time you applied that a liquor store can also sell wine, so why just a wine store?
Their focus was primarily on wine, and now that and it will continue to be. But customers have expressed a demand for. They're basically trying to cater to the demands of their customers.
We do not want to turn into a liquor store, so we really do want to primarily focus on wine. We have very, very special wine, and I just have a lot of customers who look for a very special sort of liquor, very artisan, very something they haven't found in the neighborhood. So if all our the nearest 5 stores say they have it, they don't have it. They don't have what we like to offer. We do not want to go. We not want to sell the same product. We know this is not going to, help anybody. We will continue sending everybody to our store down the road if they want Bacardi or brandy or whatever, because we will not sell that product. We're also not going to even have the space to do so. So we want to have 10% off, like really, really special product and cater to a very, to that neighborhood who's actually asking for it, because they do not find it in the stores.
Like what are they asking for that the other stores don't have?
They're asking for those small brands. There's a lot of new distilleries. We want to actually focus on small, very special batches. There's even one in Red Hook that just do amazing whiskey, and it's also a little pricier. So we're not going to focus completely on it because I guess people, want it. They're also looking for great gifts to give to other people. So we'd like to.
Some of the brands that we're going to offer are in my letter of support: Hill Rock Estate, Tuttletown, Kings County, Finger Lakes, Van Brunt Stillhouse.
And those aren't offered in the stores around you?
No.
Yes, we are. Can I add it, if it's possible, please? Okay. Whatever the lawyers represent, half of that is false, because we really do a lot of tasting in the store, basically almost every other week, and plus we work with the Red Hook Distillery, which is we offer the gin, the whiskey. With the Stillhouse Distillery as well, we're working, and we have a variety of wines since they're open. We have even more wines now. We had previously wine from all over the world. Now, even especially, we have much more wines and liquors. And like I said, Boris always take requests from each and every client. And they as usually, every opposition which is come, bring up Bacardi and Hennessy and all that stuff. This is, not accurate.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, Commissioner, add something as well. I've been a resident.
No, it's his time. You had your time. Thank you.
Okay.
And Chairman and Commissioner, I would just like to note, I don't want this to devolve, but the gentleman who just spoke, as you noted, he's not a principal of B&G, and in fact, he's an owner of another store that's in a different neighborhood. So I'm not exactly sure. It's great that he was the manager, but as far as I know, he has no involvement in the store right now.
If he owns another one, he better not. All right, anything else?
Yeah, I would just like to talk briefly about the increase in population in the neighborhood. As you know, Bedford-Stuyvesant is exploding in population. The census figures indicate that from 2010 to 2019, the population has increased by approximately 18%. I have attached as Exhibit 4 a map and listings for new developments going up within 2 blocks of the store. In the map, you can see there are over 227 new residential units going up just within 2 blocks, and that's not even a radius. That's on DeKalb Avenue, and that doesn't include. There's a massive development that takes up a whole city block at 833 Myrtle Street, which will be approximately 330 units. So the trend of increased population and increased sales can only be expected to continue in the near future.
Thank you. All right, anything? Nope.
I'm sorry, I can say something?
Who are you?
I owner of the store.
We heard from everybody and their brother about your store. You had your chance. Go ahead. This isn't the way this operates, though. You don't bring in 5 people and then at the end of it say, I want to talk.
Okay, I'm sorry about that, because, I just want to, why came these people, first of all. I want to try to explain what he said about just whiskey. Maybe I have it whiskey now, 150 just different whiskey, first of all. Secondly, I have it customer. I tell to all customer, what you want, just let me know. I'm gonna order for you. It doesn't matter.
Well, that's not the same thing, sir, as somebody having it on their shelf. So I get you can get anything that they ask for. I understand that.
Even my lawyer, he have it all these pictures. What I send it to him because it's too much pictures of what I have it in stock. In stock, I have it more when somebody have it around me.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Tom.
We're good?
Yes.
Commissioner Fan.
Given that the application is only suggesting that the store will sell 10% spirit, I'm going to vote to approve with the caveat that she cannot sell any of the brand name spirits that are at the current moment on the shelves of the store that's literally right next to it. I guess I would ask if you guys would agree to that.
Conceptually, we don't have a problem. My only concern is that they see what we're selling and then they start selling it, which would prohibit us from
No,
selling
I said it's as of today. They can't change it. They can't have things so that you get barred. But as of today, whatever they're selling, you can't have on your shelves. How's that?
That's fine.
It seems to be in line with what you wrote in your letter. Can I get an agreement from her?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes,
And that's 10%, or you don't care anymore?
I'm going to vote to approve on the same terms, 10% of being cap, not selling.
No, she didn't put 10% cap.
Yeah, she's not going to, only the,
But she'll do that. Is that what you want or no?
Yes. Yes.
So he wants 10%.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
okay.
And also, look at the closest stores, their sales going up. So I vote to approve as well.
I vote to deny it. she applied as a wine store. I don't think she would have got a liquor store had she applied for a liquor store at the time, and it's just too close to the closest store.
We'll approve 10% of the SKUs being approved.
For alcohol, basically, somebody answered my question. That means she can sell 10% of her SKUs can be non-wine.
Right, and
none of the products that the other people are selling currently.
Right.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Next item, 2356. 3495 Broadway Cafe, Inc.
Good morning, members of the board. Mike Paludis on behalf of the applicant. I'm joined by Michael Sheridan, the principal.
See you.
Just for another 6-month extension?
We're actually only asking for an additional 60 days. If the board is prepared to give us 6 months, it might.
I want to make sure you're not coming back. So how long do I have to give you to make sure you don't come back?
If you can give us 6 months, Chairman, we would really appreciate that. We are extremely hopeful we'll have this in 60 days, but the requirement on the certificate of no harassment was just waived, and so DOB is still turned. The wheels are still turning there.
What is a letter of no harassment?
So a certificate of no harassment is a certificate that is issued at the end of a process where the owner of the building, the plans for alterations are essentially, they have to be not signed off on, but approved by the tenants in the building. And so what happens during the process is often tenants in a building will complain about a landlord's maintenance of a building or perceived failure to maintain the building. And so, look, the pilot program was initiated after we signed the lease and after we submitted our application. We worked diligently. First, the landlord did that.
I believe you. I just didn't know what it was. How many tenants are in this building?
There's 75 units in the building, Chairman.
So you basically had to have 75 people say, no, we're happy.
Yeah.
May 15th?
Yes.
2020.
Yes. May 15th.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Next item, 2368 Ross Code Lounge Corp.
It's actually a pretty good idea.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Howard Levine. I represent Ross Code Lounge, Inc. on this application to change the method of operation to stay open another 2 hours from 2 a.m. to 4. When the applicant was here last December, there was some concern that the prior licensees had issues at the premises and had their licenses canceled. This applicant has met with the community board, this department, and he was given a fresh start. He had no relationship whatsoever with the prior licensees. Back a year ago, in December of 2018, Chairman, you mentioned that he could come back in 6 months and apply to stay open until 4. So that's what we did. Basically sent the community board notice 30 days in advance. He met with the Safety Commission of the community board in May, and then he appeared and met with the full board of the community board in June. On June 18th, they issued a letter that they have absolutely no objection to him staying open until 4 a.m. That was sent to the State Liquor Authority directly. It was also sent by me. The reason why he wants to stay open is for financial hardship. There are a lot of patrons that have expressed displeasure that they close early and that they simply go to other venues in the area that are allowed to stay open later. As of the time of filing the application, there had been no incidents whatsoever, no summonses issued, no violations issued, no problem at all. There was an altercation in November. It was not inside the premises. It was people who were fighting over an Uber. The police did come and asked for video surveillance of the interior, which was handed over. Then there was a March task force that came down for inspection. He was issued no citations, no violations, no issues whatsoever.
The 102 precinct, which he has been involved with, has been very appreciative of the fact that security guards not only monitor the interior but also the exterior and to each corner to make sure that when patrons leave, they don't loiter about and potentially cause nuisance for the area. If you wouldn't mind, I realize there's a lot of people behind me and you have a lot of cases to get to. If you could hear directly from the licensee just about the financial hardship, about how he's put everything into this place, his family works at the place, he is present at all hours of its operation, and I think that it would probably be helpful for you to hear that directly from him.
Okay.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the SLA. I'm the owner of Kenner Cross, Scotland, 11715 101 Avenue. We've been open almost in a week of the year. Financial hardship, the first 6 months we opened for business, we opened for lunch at 12. We was very unsuccessful. Our cost of operation was more than the sales that we was making. We started opening at 4 p.m. to get some after hours and lunch. The sales just reached because of the expenses that we have. The problem is the customers comes out late, very late till 11, 12. They start leaving at 1 just because of the other premises open till 4. They tell us that's the situation, why they don't come, why they don't stay. Right now I'm backed up on rent of $38,000 rent. I'm negotiating a deal with the landlord. He understands the hardship that is going through. He comes in, he see the business is not making any money right now. So I really appreciate and thank you for understanding my concern and situation for that extra 2 hours that will bring up my sales even so I could stay operating.
Were those people that got in the altercation customers of your place?
Yes, they was.
And did they end up stabbing each other?
There was 4 of them waiting for Uber. There was a group that left already, came from nowhere. My security guard, see everything was clear, came in and left from nowhere, and then we had our altercation outside. We ran out, and we saw the scrambling altercation. And I ended up personally calling 911.
Did they stab each other though?
Yeah, I think someone gets stabbed.
Police report says an unknown object causing a laceration.
A laceration of 2 people or 1?
Unknown, one individual.
And are we doing? Is there charges going on that, or that just got closed?
Just happened.
Well, it just happened. Okay. All right, Tom.
Okay, you ready to vote? Commissioner Fan?
I'm going to vote to allow the karaoke music, but I'm going to vote no on the extension on time. If you come back with the police department support that I'll vote in.
Commissioner Ford? Same thing. I'm not going to vote to extend the hours, but I will allow karaoke. And if you have some support from the police, I'd be willing to change my mind on that.
Chairman Brad?
Well, I'll do the same.
Thank you very much.
Next item, 2408, Juvaid NY Eagle.
Good afternoon, board members, and here, Jose New York.
Do we have anything open?
We have a referral that we investigated and decided not to bring charges on based on.
What was the incident?
Someone was hit in the head with a bottle inside the place. It was not preventable. There was also a suggestion that the video was not operational, but we got information from the NYPD that that was a mistake.
I mean, what?
I will report that it was a one-time.
I mean, yeah, you're.
What's the date?
Go ahead.
When did that happen?
Yeah.
I don't have that from.
Is that 19 or 18?
It was in 2019.
11/2/19 is sort of forward.
Yeah.
11/2/19.
But we just did this, right? This is the
Yeah.
one we. Man, what I don't understand why you're here. I realize we misidentified your method of operation
What
previously.
happened, you weren't here that day. When it came back on, and we corrected the record, Commissioner Fan and Commissioner Ford both voted to keep the 3 a.m. restriction.
Right.
That's why we're back.
Right, but
They had 4 a.m. before, is that the history?
yeah, but
There were no restrictions before that.
I understand that, but I don't have a problem. Why would you think you could get the restriction pulled?
We are requesting to close at 3 a.m. for the holiday season, and I got an email from the Secretary's office to be here today for that to be addressed.
You're requesting to do what for the holiday season?
To close at 4 a.m. instead of 3.
I know, but because of the incidents that have happened there over the last year, the board, although I wasn't here that day, determined that they were going to make you close at 3 a.m.
I think we also wanted an all-night right?
So I don't understand what changed. The reason that they took the 4 a.m. away was because of the adverse history that has developed. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, yes. And I received an email on Monday morning saying that I should be here at the full board meeting today regarding that.
Right, but I don't understand why you applied for it.
I think this is the information that the members had made a previous decision based off and applied that to grade penalty was due to misinformation that you had based on
No, I think we had misinformation was the DJ and the dancing because it is a nightclub. But I think they took the hour away correctly.
So if they want to uphold it, take the hour away, that's
But
fine.
we all imposed it together on May 29th.
Right, but we also imposed.
It again.
No, I wasn't here the day you did it again.
Right.
Yeah, that's. Hold on, let's see. Okay. I mean, I'll defer to you guys. I mean, what was going on here was kind of getting, it got a little out of hand. Right?
Yes.
What was the fine, Tom? Or
35,000.
okay.
We imposed that a year ago. I'm not willing to change my mind before a year.
No, a year ago, no, 5 months ago.
It was in May.
It was in
No,
May.
2019.
It was in May, and then we reaffirmed it in September.
Suzanne.
See, what happened was, I think, and I probably led you guys down a bad road, but we had the dollar amount, and I thought it was a restaurant. And we put stipulations on it, 3 a.m. closing, no DJ must comply with approved method of operation. Well, their approved method of operation was DJ.
Right, you were told it was a restaurant.
So
it wasn't.
We had to put it back on again because if a club can't have a DJ, they're not operating. Right. But I think we held the 3 a.m. closing time.
Yeah, also it's two.
Remember we take a brief recess to conference matter with council? We are back on the record after a conference with council regarding item 2408, Juve NY Inc. We're ready to proceed. Any more questions?
Yes, question. Do you have any information from the community board supporting this, a letter or anything?
No, I don't. But I was told by the head of the community board that she was going to reach out to the board directly.
Well, she didn't.
She did.
Do you think that you can get her to give us a call or send us an email or something?
Yes.
All right, we'll put this over to 115.
No. So, Adam, have them email or contact Adam Roberts. You have a pen?
Yes. Okay.
Adam.roberts@sla.ny.gov.
Okay.
And if they send him a letter in support of this, then I think we've all agreed we would support it. But without a letter, we're not going to be able to do that. Otherwise, it's going to be 3 o'clock. Adam will have the power to do that on his own.
All right, so it's approved if.
Yes.
Conditionally approved on a letter from the community board.
Yeah.
Okay.
Adam, I can't believe you just said your email.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're all set.
Thank
you. That Gmail address.
Yeah.
Next item, 2355, 8915 ECA Inc. Someone sign in for that.
He's on his way.
I will say that the attorney in this matter contacted me, said he was not available, wanted it held over.
Well,
but
the licensee's here.
Yeah, it's.
6 months. 6 months extension is okay with me.
You're the applicant?
Yes.
Is six,
I know what you mean.
can you just explain to me briefly what the holdup is? You're almost at 2 years.
Yeah,
And it looks not even close to opening.
Well, we've been trying to finalize the jobs and building. We had some issue before, and every time we get close, something else comes up. Now we're in the final stage. You know, all the jobs closed. The plan is approved. We're just waiting now to submit the certificate of occupancy to get it approved.
All right.
Basically, to get it. That's it.
All right, 6 months.
All right.
5 minutes, 6 months.
Yep. All right, it's been approved for a 6-month extension.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Next items, 2385 and 86. This is one package that we have. It's 244 West 14th, LLC. Go ahead, Mr. McGrath.
Good morning. Kevin B. McGrath for the licensee. First, before I start, this is a compromise, an offering compromise case, but I want the chairman to know that this licensee and my office have worked extensively with your legal department to explain and to present a package to you, which I believe is very extensive. We also have with us today the owners. The Richie Akiva is here. He's the primary owner, and his sister Jackie Akiva is here. Since we have received this notice of violation, notice of pleading, we have changed the entire operation, which I believe you have before you. And I have here with me Robert Bowen, who's the head of Manhattan Services, who has taken over the restroom attendance. and I'll explain to you his new duties. We also removed the security company that we have, and we now have All Seasons, and I have the president of that company with me, Sal Damascena, and with me also the managers Curtis Allen and Sebastian Navarin, and one is the general manager of this site, and the other is the general manager for special events. In addition, I have with me Frank McHugh, who is the head of operations. Since we received the notice of pleadings, the licensee has hired a new company to deal with the violations of the happening in the restrooms. And we've hired Manhattan Services Corporation, a company that's been in business for 29 years. And if you have any questions, the president of that company is with me here. Their duties are to be greeters. Their duties are to make sure that if there's nothing unusual happening in that area. We have a signed contract with them, which deals with their obligations.
So, Mr. McGrath, let me ask you a question, though. I'm assuming that the club and the owners were notified in June of 2018 that a customer alleged that she was raped in a photo booth inside their premises, correct?
That's an allegation, yes, but it was never proven.
But they were notified of the allegation, right?
They were notified, yes, Your Honor.
And
yes.
what did they change at that point in their security plan, if anything? Because a lot of this stuff that we're going to talk about all happened after that. And
That's
the minute
correct.
the minute that somebody comes up, if I owned a restaurant and told me or a club and told me one of my customers went to the police and said she got raped in my club while it was open, I would have changed everything. And it's quite apparent to me that they changed nothing.
I would have also changed everything, but this was an allegation. It was never
It doesn't
proven.
matter. It doesn't matter if it's an allegation. I'm not saying they contributed to it. I'm not saying they had anything to do with it. I'm saying, though, that a customer alleged that occurred. And would you increase your security if that was happening? Because it's an allegation, you think the owner of a club should just ignore it?
No, they didn't ignore it, and I'm not saying that they did ignore it. They immediately.
What did they do after June to make sure 17-year-olds weren't buying liquor in their club?
Excuse me. We investigated that. There was no truth to that allegation.
That's not what I asked you. I asked you, what did they change after the allegation to make sure 17-year-old kids were not buying alcohol in their club?
We tightened up the front, and as a matter of fact, you'll see from the submissions and enforcement of your own agency that we have recently turned over 1,000 counterfeit IDs, and we also collected them at that time, and at that time we would give them to the precinct, but now your department has asked, your enforcement has asked to have them sent to the SLA, and you are now in possession of over 1,000 counterfeit IDs that we collect. We give them to the police department, but we now also give it to the SLA.
So that's after April of 2019, they started IDing people, is what you're telling me. Because a 17-year-old was in there then.
No, Mr. Chairman, I did not say that. We have always ID'd people. We have never sent them the IDs that we confiscate to the authority until recently, when we're speaking to counsel's office and decided that they wanted to for us to send it to them, and we have followed that. And
I don't want to waste I'm not prepared to remotely accept this. So if you guys are, I think you need to go back and start over again, because you're not right now. The only thing that really would stop me canceling this is a significant change in the method of operation, which would mean a loss of hours, a significantly higher fine, probably at least double, and they're going to have, in fact, I think I would like a monitor on this one too.
Mr. Chairman,
This is ridiculous. That you think we should let this stay open. This is crazy.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like you to give me the courtesy and the licensee a courtesy to explain exactly what has happened since April to this operation.
I'm not prepared to do that until there's an offer in front of me that I would accept no matter what you changed, and I'm not there yet. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 sales to minor, 3 of which are under 18 years old.
On 7 days.
On 7 different days. And you're not in a college town, you're in Manhattan.
Untaxed cigarettes.
You got untaxed cigarettes getting sold in your bathrooms. You had an alleged rape, whether it happened or not, and nothing changed.
Mr. Chairman, things have changed. And
It does. You can come back. You can come back and explain it. You can come back and explain it to us after you go back to counsel's office and get a higher, a clearer offer.
So we're basically giving you should be canceled, but we're giving you an opportunity to go back to council and renegotiate this.
That's 3 votes to deny C&C and send it back to council's office?
Yes.
And you should at least see that on your New Year's Eve advertising. We were doing an open bar between 9 and 1 with a promoter.
Yeah, and do you think we don't? Do you think we don't look at the computer? You're using promoters still. That's going to end. That's part of any offer is no using promoters. There's not going to be any open bars. This is bad. And I realize that he owns multiple clubs, and this is the second time this group has been in front of me asking us not to close them when they probably should be closed.
Mr. Chairman, I'll go back to counsel's office, but I do want to have an opportunity to explain exactly what this licensee has done and how it's increased its security and how it's even had its own undercover system established.
You can do that when you come back. You can do that when you come back. I'm not going to, because you're going to want to do it when you come back anyway, so I don't need to hear it twice.
We can wait. Thank you. Back to council.
And I put, like I said, there's not going to be any promoters, so I'd make sure that's part of your presentation.
All right. Thank you.
You want to leave? Sure. The next item is 2405, Manhattanville LLC.
Good afternoon, Terrence Flynn on behalf of the licensee.
My name is Joseph Shinuda.
There is another matter on for this as well, right? It's 2400.
Yeah, can we call them both up, Tom?
Why did we call this
400, 405?
This was called by itself because the licensee signed it. But 2400, the other item.
All right, so we're doing 405 first, I guess, since you called that?
Yeah, sure.
Mr. Chairman, since the, if I may, since the 2400 case involves a hearing where there's no decision yet by the authority as to what the penalty is, I think we should do that one first. Because
Okay.
depending on what you rule, it may affect the second.
Okay. So if we're going, so call that in time, 400, 2,400.
2,400.
So dismiss 1, sustain 2, dismiss 3, sustain 4.
So what's going to be different about crowd control?
They've increased the amount of security. They've also increased the amount of people that are outside, both at the time people are entering the premise and at the time people are leaving the premise.
Why are they wearing pepper spray to do that?
No, that was one instance. They had a security guard that worked for the security company that also worked for the government. He had come right from his job. He had his bulletproof vest on. He had on his pepper spray. He was running late, so he came right to the job from where he was working. And that's the instance in which he had this stuff on. None of that was used by him.
What is this place? Is this a restaurant?
It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a restaurant, but they stopped serving food and they've got a DJ and basically turns into a nightclub.
I mean, if they're going to stay open, in my view, the DJ goes, the promoters go, the live music go, food at all times, and they're going to have to change their hours.
Well, they have food. They have food at all times.
Well, that might be today, but they didn't do it before.
That wasn't even a charge in the proceedings, Mr. Chairman.
It's in the other one, though.
Oh, all right. Okay.
No, there's no DJ or live music. There's no dancing.
No, there is.
I mean, if they're going to be a restaurant, they're a restaurant. In my view, that's it.
Yes, but when we were originally approved, as a restaurant with the DJ.
Right? Yeah, I get that. But when you were originally approved, the police weren't. They weren't the object of the police's focal point. Now they are. Or no, they're not. I take that back. But they were. They certainly were a failure to. They're now a failure to supervise. So now they lose some of that.
First of all, I don't think that charge should have been sustained, but that's in my controversion, which you have before you.
Yes, we do.
But I understand your point.
Every single night between now and the end of the year, you have a promoter-related event.
That's not a restaurant.
Every single night.
So does he want to operate on a restaurant, or does he want us to close him? That's the two choices.
No, well, he would like to stay in business. Obviously, this is his livelihood.
All right. Well, that's where I'm at. I'll let him stay in business. He offered 25 on the other one. I'll take 5 on this one, plus no DJ, no live music, no promoters, and he closes at 3. And no dancing. No cover charges either. I mean, he turned himself into a club. This is exactly, and you're here enough to know this. This is exactly what these community boards are looking to avoid, and he became what they're looking to avoid. Right in Midtown Manhattan.
Well, when he made his application, he said he was going to be a restaurant lounge with live and recorded music and a DJ and security. So that was never.
But Mr. Flynn, when that was granted, no one contemplated that food would not be available and that he was going to start using promoters and charge cover charges. That makes you a club, not a lounge, not a restaurant.
All right, so could you please, just for my clients, just go through what the conditions are again, please?
No DJ, no live music, no promoters, 3 a.m. closing, assuming they agree to that. No cover charges, no dancing. He has background music and he's a restaurant.
And the penalty was you were going to put $5,000 for this and $25 for the other. Is that correct?
The other one's an offer of 25 that I'll take and 5 on this unless they disagree.
That's fine.
That's fine.
No good with that one then too? Okay.
Well, no, he's not good with it yet.
Well,
Thank you very much.
He's got he's got a manager he has to correct.
Right. That's.
What was the other none? And the 3 was dancing. He's not allowed to have dancing anyway. They already have dancing.
Right.
All right. Yeah. So that's what it is. So a total of $30,000 for both cases and those conditions.
Thank you very much.
Next item, 2376, Liquor Village NYC Corp.
Good afternoon. Michael James appearing for the applicant. I have with me the applicants, Stephen Kong, Tommy Lynn. I think this is a reconsideration, so we're asking that decision be reconsidered. If you remember, it was a split decision.
Well, what is there any new facts? Because when you come before the board, you come before the board. You don't get a reconsideration just because there's 2 commissioners one day and 3 the next.
Right. So the new fact is, I think
Mr. James, hold on just for a second. Since there wasn't a third vote, I mean, it's not assumed that it was denied on the merits. It wasn't denied on the merits. It was denied because it was a split vote.
Right.
So.
But the law doesn't grant a right of reconsideration just because the board was not. We were at a quorum.
The law doesn't grant reconsideration at all. It's something we made up.
Well, then that's where we're at. Otherwise, every time that we have 2 commissioners, we are going to get every license application that got denied back.
And people are told they can do that. Come back, and there's a third vote.
Then they should adjourn. I'm not doing this for every license application because somebody's not here. I mean, we had 2 commissioners for a year. Sometimes those denials don't go out for 3 or 4 months. Not recently, but in the past. So I don't know. If you want to hear it, you can hear it. It's up to you.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chairman, in the written decision, there were no actual facts on the merits to respond to. So there are new developments, but there was nothing to actually respond to.
No, you don't have to respond to why we denied it. You have to respond to what has been new. What's new that we didn't hear the last time?
So in your last...
We operate as a board. We don't operate as independent commissioners.
Okay, so I'll speak to that. In the last decision, or the decision that you made, you were informed that the last store, Nutrecht, that was the Lieutenant Spirits. It was just opened in 2018. I did submit some documents showing that it's been open since 2002, and that was your decision. That's not the case here. As well,
I can't hear anything you're saying.
Can I just speak up?
Yeah, the mic's up here.
Okay. So there was this. Mr. Chairman was informed that there was a new store that was placed into this area in 2018, and although I did submit that store was not new, but that was the information at the time. So I have submitted additional documents showing that there have been stores at that location for the past about 20 years, or just about 20 years. So there are no new stores in the area, and that was the basis of the decision.
That's not in any of the documents that we have. I don't know, and I don't recall the hearing, but there's nothing in here that I relied on that indicated there was a new store in 2018. Even Mr. Lynn's opposition didn't say that.
That's exactly what Mr. Lynn said.
Can I just make a statement?
Sure.
I was looking to see when it was licensed, but I think there was possibly a prior retail liquor store. But one of the things here was that the pre-hearing paperwork that you got misstated a lot of information. It didn't give the correct distances. It didn't really show the 4 or 5 closest stores. The thing about Lieutenant Spirit's significance is that it was because there were so many stores close together.
Stop. We're doing this anyway. We might as well reconsider it since you're here, Mr. Lynn, so go ahead. We're granting reconsideration. Go ahead. The applicant goes first.
Okay, so if you can, for the benefit of Commissioner Pond and everyone's recollection, if you can remember, this was a split decision. Commissioner Ford, you did grant the approval. Chairman, you did.
Can you just go right to public interest, please? We know what happened.
Okay, so the public interest, and I'll head straight to the point. The population increase over the last 10 years has been dramatic in this area, almost a 9%, or close to 10% increase versus a 6% increase in Brooklyn at large. The closest store sales number.
Did you submit anything of that?
I believe they were already in there since last hearing. Yes.
I don't think we have anything from you indicating those numbers.
The opposition submitted the same exact numbers.
Go ahead.
So there has been a sizable increase in the population. At the last hearing, Mr. Lynn indicated that there's a
And just so the record's clear this time, the opposition's number said there's no population increase, and he did submit something. But go ahead.
Correct. That's correct.
Yeah, that's what the opposition, and I'm not going to just repeat everything the opposition said, but the opposition did point to the fact that there's been a large increase in the Asian population migrating to this area. So the two can't be true. It can't be a large migration of the Asian population and also no population increase at the same time. That just can't.
I understand that, but sir, he submitted documents that indicate there was no population increase. You submitted nothing. You're asking us to take you on your word.
Mr. Chairman, if you'd like to submit documents to rely on, I would ask that we hold over this.
No,
this hearing.
we're not. No, that stuff should. This is now your second shot. We're not holding it over. Go ahead.
Okay. So as can be confirmed by the Department of Buildings, there are 596 new units of housing units that will be added to this area. 355 of which are in a couple of blocks radius of this store. The public convenience and advantage will be served. Again, there's a large migration of Asian population. A new store, particularly owned by bilingual Asian owners, would benefit the public convenience and advantage. It would help with translation. It would help with offering the services and the area at large. Of course, their store hours will be different. They'll be open. The closest store, Vergest, is not open on Sundays. They will be open on Sundays, 7 days a week. They'll be offering wine tastings and liquor tastings, as well as.
Who's not open on Sundays?
Vergest. They're located at 6705. This is along 18th Avenue.
So the closest store to you is not open on Sundays?
Correct.
And the second closest. At least as we have it, it's the second closest. Burgess.
Yeah, Vergest is the second closest. Liquors at 18th Avenue is the first closest. I'm sorry about that. Additionally, Travado, that was located at 6415 18th Avenue, just on the other side of Vergest, that is now closed down. So in an area where the population is increasing, construction is very present in the area, a store closing down does not serve the public convenience and advantage, and now we have to look to replace that store with a new store. And I would mention
it's not even with how far away is that store? Because it's not even within the 4 closest.
That store is now closed. So it was 6415. It won't show up in your paperwork. But 6415, that was 3 blocks away from Vergest at 67, and we are 4 blocks away from Vergest on the other side of it. So it's in the same area, the same immediate area, and gives the patients access to a new store that will replace the last one. If you remember, you said you didn't remember the last hearing, but even at the last hearing, Mr. Chairman, you did state that the area can use a new store. You didn't like the location, but the area can use a new store based on the construction numbers and based on the population. So,
right, and your store, you just mentioned a store that closed. That's not even within the area. So what I was getting at was maybe if you went to the area where the store closed, it would be more appropriate.
The store is only 6 blocks away.
Yeah, but it's not. There's already 4 other stores that are closer to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, why do you think you need a store 3 blocks from 2 other existing stores on the same avenue? Is there something about the traffic around there that I need to know about?
Absolutely. There's absolute abundance of traffic along 18th Avenue and 86th Street are the main corridors, and 20th Avenue are 3 corridors of commerce in this area. So you have all of your major, there's a Target just 4 blocks away. You have major retailers, Planet Fitness, major stores that are in restaurants, mom and pop restaurants as well. So this is where the center of commerce is. Also, if you look at the sales figures.
Hold on, I got to stop you. Because I'm not voting for this, and Commissioner Ford has to leave. So you're losing anyway, so you're better off putting this over until next month. Mr. Lynn, are you going to be around at the next hearing?
Unfortunately, probably yes.
Then come back on this too, because Commissioner Ford has to literally leave in 5 minutes, and he has no choice. And he was your lone yes vote, and you weren't going to change my mind. So you would be right in the same place again.
All right. Okay. We're going to pull over to 15. And next item. No problem. Next item is 2401. Charles and Washington Wine and Liquor.
Did I vote against this or for?
2401.
Yeah, yes. Put this over too, unless they want me to, unless they think they can change my mind.
It's difficult. It's difficult to tell under any circumstance. Yeah, you voted no. Commissioner Ford voted yes.
And he has to leave. So January 15th. And we're going to notify the opposition too.
The opposition is fully aware.
Mr. Lynn, you be notified.
Thank you.
January 15th.
Merry Christmas, Tom. Everyone else.
Bye. Get safe.
Next item, 2378. White Diamonds Restaurant Corp.
God bless you. Terrence Flynn on behalf of the licensee. This is an offer of compromise to resolve the charges.
I'll accept.
Next item, 2352. Johnny's Restaurant Bar and Lounge, Inc.
You had put this matter over for us to get to the community board. Interestingly enough, the community board never called us in on the application. We went to the community board, asked them to put us on. The woman on the committee would not. We have then written a letter to the chair of the community board, and we are being told they will put us on. So I'm asking this be put over an additional 30 days. There's no prejudice.
Well, they told you they now will put you on?
In a phone call my client made to the district manager said that they will try and get us on the next agenda that they have.
Okay.
When is that next date they're doing?
Tom, they haven't set the date. I'm not sure of the date. I would ask for 30 days. I believe we should be able to get there in 30 days.
I know, but we're just under. Our next meeting is like 25 days.
We have January 15th or February 13th.
I'll take February 13th to be sure.
All right.
The next item, 2399, Portuguese Evo Club Inc.
This is an offer of compromise to resolve the charges.
Yeah, I have a note.
Yeah, you were supposed to bring your client in.
I'm sorry. My client is here. I apologize. Yeah, Let's put your name on the record.
Good morning. Alcides Rodriguez.
So what gave you the thought that you could rent this club out to promoters?
Well, it's a community club, and this is how it had been done. And unfortunately, I didn't delve into it enough to know the real law, and now I know the law.
Yeah, but unfortunately, people got hurt. One dead.
Not at our place.
A customer of yours, right?
I don't believe so.
April of this year. Shots fired at the licensed premise, which was confirmed by a shot spotter.
The shots were not fired on the premises.
Then why were all your customers running out of the premises when the cops came? Were you there that night?
No, I was not there that night.
Who did you give it to?
I'm sorry?
Who was there that night? The promoter?
Yes.
So then how would you know whether shots are fired or not?
Well, we gave all the videotapes to the police officer. I met with the police officer that morning when I went there.
I mean, where are we at? What are his hours right now, Mr. Flynn?
We close at midnight.
They close. I don't know what was in their original application, Mr. Chairman. I didn't do it, but they close at midnight.
Even when it was rented out to promoters, they were closing at midnight?
No, sir. We were closing at 4 then. Now we are only closing at midnight. No more promoters.
All right, I can remember that. All right, I'll do 35,000. I'll counter 35,000. Now you're closing at midnight because you have to. And what was the other one? No use of promoter. Is that good?
All right, so that's a counter offer.
Did Commissioner Fan vote on that? I'm sorry, we couldn't hear it here.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, yes, thank you very much. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to everybody.
You too.
Next item, 2350, Jacob and Kelly, Inc.
How are you guys doing today? So, here's what happened. So, as we were aware the last time, I sold the business to pay for the fines to reinstate. The sale was delayed until January 10th, the closing of it. It's been sold, but the actual funds coming in. So what I did was, I raised the money to pay the issue with the corporation, but the people won't lend me the money if they know if you close me down. So I'm at this sort of catch-22 where I have the money to pay it and get reinstated, but I have to have a delay with you guys. 2-3 weeks.
Listen, I kind of made it clear to you last time.
I know.
Well, let me finish. That was over a month ago. That you have a license in the name of a corporation that does not exist.
I understand that.
As a result of that, there's no oversight, and we can't let you be open now.
We pay taxes, we pay sales tax, we pay corporate tax, we pay everything.
There's some tax you haven't paid because you owe somebody $233,000.
I understand
so
that.
I get that, but there's nothing. I gave you enough rope to hang myself. I can't give you any more.
I need 15 days, and
I can't give you 15. It's over. You can. If the place is sold, you can put the license in safekeeping and shut. But other than that, there's not much else we can do.
How long until the revocation comes?
I have no idea how long that takes. It would normal process probably 3 or 4 days.
Is there any way I'm pleading with you? I literally.
Sir, I can't. There's nothing we can do. There's nothing. I shouldn't have done what I did last time.
I have the money to pay for it. If you guys just tell me, okay, come back January 15th, it'll be paid.
I can't. There's no licensee right now. Your corporation doesn't exist. I'm sorry. Listen, I gave you the 30 days last time, hoping you could do something. I didn't expect that you would be able to, and that's where we are. We have now adjourned this on multiple occasions.
I just asked for one final adjournment.
I can't give it to you.
I have 15 employees that rely on this. My livelihood.
I understand that, but I can't give it to you. Those decisions were made long ago. Cancel.
My mother's medical depends on this.
I'm sorry, sir. The law ties our hands here.
15 days.
Commissioner Fan? Cancel the bond. Amendment to impose the penalty of cancellation of bond.
Thank you. I can't. There's nothing we can do.
All right, the next item. Next item is 2392, Prime 6, 8.
Here we go.
Good afternoon. Lee Jacobs, Helbron and Levy. For the licensee, this matter is on for submission with letters of controversion. I know that I don't have an opportunity to speak, but I am here in case the board had any questions related to any of the submissions that had happened.
You can speak, you just can't talk about the facts. We're not going to argue the facts.
You speak on the penalty.
The penalty, in our opinion, at this time cannot be assessed, as the hearing was stopped and as discussed in the letter of controversion without good reason and in violation of my client's due process rights.
What do you mean it was stopped?
So the hearing was scheduled to take at least 5 to 6 days.
I don't care how long it was supposed to take. I'm assuming that testimony was taken and an adjournment was set, correct?
So what had happened, Chairman,
answer my question.
What was the question again? I'm sorry?
Testimony had been taken and an adjournment was granted or given or whatever the case may be, and a date to continue was set, correct, by all parties in the ALJ?
That is incorrect.
There was not a date to continue.
There was a date on the day of the last hearing. There was a date that was going to be set for to continue for my client's manager to testify, because at the prior date, it was known and made known that that manager was not available on the next scheduled date. And on the
what was to happen on the next scheduled date?
On the next scheduled date, other witnesses and evidence.
From who? Whose witnesses?
From the licensee. And
did you show up? Did you show up on that date?
We showed up on that date.
Did you have any of those witnesses?
Did not have the witnesses, as they were no longer willing to testify on that date, but we did have evidence and other documentary evidence to enter into the record with the same privilege that was afforded to counsel throughout the entire.
Why were you not prepared to go forward on the date that you showed up?
There was a confluence of two things that had happened, Chairman. The first was that the witnesses were no longer available to testify on that date.
Available or refused?
Available to testify on that date. And then
did you get affidavits from them?
And then shifting to the question as to affidavits, as to why affidavits were not obtained at the same time that had happened.
Back up. Did you get affidavits did you have affidavits from those witnesses on that date?
No, I did not, and I'm about to explain.
You did not have them with you?
No, I did not.
And why? What was the other reason that you couldn't go forward on that day?
The reason why we didn't have we could go forward on that day with documentary evidence, but the judge did not accept documentary evidence. She just
Which was what? So it wasn't affidavits. What was the documentary evidence?
It was news reports, articles from various newspapers and blog postings similar to what the SLA had entered into evidence, as well as petitions.
No fact-based evidence.
What were those news reports and blog posts going to say?
The news reports and blog posts were going to say two things. The first part is that the noise and community issues were not just limited to Woodlands, that there was reports coming from and quoting from other police officers from the NCO that did testify at the hearing, stating that it was from Woodlands and 2 other locations that are next door to Woodlands, which were becoming the point of police activity. And then the other aspect would have been...
Why, if that was the case and those police officers testified and they were quoted, why didn't you use those articles in cross-examination of the police officers?
It was the police officer that was pictured in the article was testified, but the police officer who was quoted was not called by the SLA. And so it was not used during the cross-examination of Officer DiMichele. And the other evidence that would have been entered into evidence, if we would have been allowed to proceed, would have been affirmative proof from community members and patrons of the establishment as to what the the positive impact that Woodlands does have on the patrons and the communities that the
Wait, what were they? What was the other evidence?
Patrons of Woodlands, actual.
They were there to testify?
They would have been scheduled to testify. Yes.
No. Were they there that day to testify?
No, they were not.
So you showed up on a day where you were supposed to present evidence. You were supposed to present witness evidence, and you had none. It didn't indicate that to anyone beforehand. You showed up and basically said, "I'm not ready to proceed because I don't have any evidence."
Judge, that is incorrect. If I can, excuse me, Judge Chairman, if I could. So there was a confluence of events. So the witnesses became unavailable over a weekend. Over that weekend.
Did you email anybody?
Yes, I did. I emailed both. And the other fact that is missing from here that needs to be said as to the reason why affidavits weren't obtained from those witnesses is at the same exact time that this was happening, the chair of my firm's litigation department abruptly left the firm. And I was left.
Was he fired, or did he leave the firm?
Our positions separated, Chairman.
So presumably the firm was happy he left.
Yes, Judge.
Which means they could have prepared themselves for his leaving.
No, Mr. Chairman, it was not. And the moment that when the witnesses became unavailable and we were that I was unable to get the affidavits, I reached out to both. I emailed the ALJ and I emailed the prosecutor on this case. And that was on the Sunday before the hearing was to proceed.
And when was the hearing? What day?
I believe it was on either the Monday or the Tuesday. But mind you, at the hearing prior to that Monday or Tuesday, it was agreed that there was going to be an additional day's hearing no matter what for the licensee's manager to appear.
That's not
that apparently is contested.
No matter what is a stretch, but let me back up because there is some confusion because you said you had 3 witnesses who you found out simultaneously on Saturday were all now unavailable. Who were those people, and were there anybody else that you intended to call besides those 3 people? Because that's the first I've heard of it, that you had anybody other than those 3 people whose names have never been identified as far as I can see in the record.
So first, as to Mr. Yamasaki, who was the manager,
Not the manager. The 3 witnesses who you found out on Saturday could not appear on Monday. Who were they?
They were one was a community member, a patron who has been a regular of Woodlands, and the other 2 were members of the Black Institute, which is a nonprofit community organizing group.
Okay. What were the 2 people from the Black Institute going to tell? Are they fact witnesses?
They were going to testify as to the events that are at issue here take place on with the community take issue with on the weekends during Black brunches and what are known colloquially as Black brunches. And the Black Institute was going to testify as to the importance of Black brunches to the community and its effect of positive impact on the patrons and the community of Woodlands.
Okay. Other than those 3 witnesses and the manager who we know about, you didn't have any other witnesses lined up for Monday or any other day, right?
We had the manager was always lined up to testify at the next scheduled hearing date.
Other than the manager, it was just those 3 witnesses that you're talking about with respect to patrons and community members.
That is correct.
And my understanding is that you did not make any effort once you found out that the 3 people were not going to be available to testify live to try to get the manager to come to testify on Monday or even Tuesday or Wednesday. You took no such efforts. You just sent the email and then showed up and asked for an adjournment. Is that right?
The record would show that my request was for an adjournment or to postpone the hearing because there always was going to be another date where the manager was going to be present to testify. The SLA had 5 days to testify. The SLA had, please bear with me for one moment. The SLA had had 4 separate hearings spanning almost 4 months, in which they called 12 witnesses. And of those 12 witnesses that the SLA called, Investigator Davis and other SLA investigators who could only be present for either part of the day or only on limited days of the week caused this time period to stretch into months. The ALJ canceled a hearing sua sponte in July. The licensee, we were afforded the ability to only enter one piece of evidence in through cross-examination and call no witnesses whatsoever.
Did your client come? Was your client there on the day of the hearing that the judge refused to grant your adjournment?
Yes.
Why not put him on?
He did not want to take the stand, and it was not part of our the case strategy at that time. As our time, the case was going to proceed, and with the manager was always. I understand that may be a point of contention, but everything that I have and have discussed and shown in the record is that this was not a point of contention. Mr. Yamasaki went away on a trip out of country to Brazil, and that was always known.
The point of contention that I am, the reason I said that I don't agree, because I read the record, I was not there obviously, but the ALJ said that once you learned on Saturday, putting aside whether you should have done more before the weekend before a hearing to make sure that you'd have witnesses to put on, because if you'd done that, you would have been able to ask for an adjournment more, within the rule of the 3-day rule, and would have known before that Saturday that they couldn't appear on Monday. Putting that aside, my understanding is that the ALJ took the view that as soon as the circumstances changed, she expected you to come in to at least be diligent in trying to put evidence on that Monday, and found that you had not done so. So you're making it appear as if on the 20th there was some agreement that the ALJ would not do that if circumstances changed. I don't believe there was any such agreement on August 20th. The ALJ didn't say, regardless of what happens, you will have another hearing then. That's right.
I respectfully disagree. That was not my understanding. Mr. Yamasaki was present for the first 2 days of the hearings. I had on multiple occasions, and I submitted with my letter of controversion a letter that was written to counsel for this matter after the ALJ had canceled one of the hearings in July for her own reasons, and to actually ascertain from the SLA how long the case would take so we could schedule appropriately.
Look, I understand, and there's a recording, so it doesn't really matter. I listened to the recording, but the point is the circumstances did change between August 20th and September 9th, because you were no longer able to proceed with witnesses, and the ALJ considered that in making a decision to deny your adjournment, correct?
In our position, incorrectly so, but yes.
Okay.
But the manager never actually testified?
No, the ALJ decided that there was not an appropriate grounds to adjourn, and did not allow, and there was no further evidence taken. Now, I also understand that the ALJ used the word default on the record, but then subsequently sent you an email saying it wasn't a default, she just denied the adjournment. Is that right?
I believe so, yes.
Well, I mean, 2 of the witnesses that he mentioned that would have testified or put in affidavits, I don't see how they're even remotely relevant to these charges. Yeah. And I'm assuming the customer is a customer of the bar, and there were plenty of people that were residents that lived around that did testify. So I don't know. He showed up at a hearing date with an excuse of law firm failure, which I don't see how that's even possible because a partner left. I don't see how that's an excusable result.
Let me ask you that. Why is it that the affidavits couldn't be taken? Were you were unavailable for the entire day Sunday to put affidavits together?
Yes, I was. It was myself and someone else, and the caseload doubled. And in taking that into context with my understanding that Mr. Yamasaki was always going to testify on an additional day.
So then you wouldn't have even been able to prepare these witnesses on Sunday either, if they were willing to testify?
If they had on Saturday, if they had said on Saturday that they were available to testify, I would have moved forward on Sunday to prepare them for testimony.
Then why not have them in to just do affidavits instead of and prepare the affidavits in that same time period? This was not discussed. You didn't raise the point that you were completely unavailable on Sunday to do any work at all because of the law firm failure at the hearing.
This was raised at the hearing. This was raised at the hearing, and the judge explained that while the facts may explain the scenario, they do not give rise to a sufficient excuse. And we respectfully disagree with that.
And I completely agree with her. The situation was partially at a minimum of the law firm's own making, and that doesn't relieve you of your obligations, not just to us, but to the multiple other clients and cases that you have. So I think the judge acted accordingly. You showed up unprepared for a day that testimony was supposed to be granted. And in any court I've been in, that would have been, they would have asked you to close your case. So that's what she did. So I'm going to rule on this. So sustain one. So let's go through them. Sustain 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 13. Dismiss 3, 10, 11, and 12, except, I believe, 10. Commissioner Fan would like to speak about.
Can Gary or Tom just explain what the legal standards for availing really are? What are the legal elements that would be considered?
Well, there's a letter of controversy in here that describes why why counsel's office thinks that the ALJ too narrowly interpreted the availing claim. Do you have anything to say to that, counsel?
I do not. On the evidence that was submitted by the authority, was insufficient to sustain a charge of availing. And I also note that in the authority's contravention letter, it does state that the authority and defense was not presented with an opportunity to. It says we know. It was a very lengthy hearing with a lot of evidence submitted. For some reason, ALJ Harvey declined to allow summation or to take written submissions from either side at the close of the hearing. At the evidence presented in the licensee's opinion does not sustain a charge of availing.
But didn't the agreement that was put into the record, the management agreement, reflect that these two individuals were essentially given control of every aspect of the business?
That the management agreement states what the management agreement states, but if Mr. Yamasaki was to come to the stand and testify, he would have testified otherwise, and that he does these things. And this agreement was.
Why would they put that in the agreement that they're doing?
That was an agreement that was struck. That was entered into at some time prior to this. This was in 2017. The date of the effective date of the management agreement. While that may be what's in the agreement, that is not what happened in reality. And the other evidence that the SLA relied upon in showing some type of ownership was conclusory and speculatory evidence. The authority relied upon two summons and complaints from Supreme Court here in New York. Both of those cases were limited with pre-answer motions to dismiss, and further relying upon evidence of photographs and other newspaper articles that claim that these two individuals have some type of ownership authority over the restaurant, which they do not.
And you obviously disagree with that?
Yeah.
So, Pedro, the manager, works for the two brothers or work for the owner?
He works for Prime 6, which is owned by the owner.
I mean, it seems to me in that agreement, the owner gave away pretty much every obligation that an owner has to those two brothers.
The agreement states what the agreement states, but in reality, that is not what happened. That is not what is happening in fact.
He entered into a legal document that gave two people that didn't own the restaurant the ability to act like owners. Whether that happened or not, they have that right under the agreement, which, in the face of the law, seems to me to be illegal. Since they're not on the license.
Excuse me?
In the face of the law, that agreement to me seems to be illegal since they're not on the license. That to me is the definition of a bail. Whether it's in an agreement or not. If that's what you either agreed could happen or was happening, I don't see how that's not a bail.
The ALJ.
I know what I'm telling you, I disagreed with her.
Yeah.
I think that's what Commissioner Fan is saying as well, is that this agreement gives them so much power that they're owners.
Yeah, I will tell you that under marketing, it says the plan is not subject to owner's prior written approval. And the most worrying, I think, is actually 16.2, where they said, upon expiration or earlier termination of this agreement, all termination costs, which shall be payable to staff, shall be obligation on owner and manager. Essentially, they're saying that if they decide that this restaurant is going to close down, that the manager would actually pay half the termination costs, which is defined in this agreement as severance pay or other fringe benefits. You know,
what employee is required to do that?
That makes no sense.
All right. What do you want to do? I think I agree with you.
Can I have a brief moment for council, please?
Okay, after a brief conference with council, we're back on the record on item 2392.
Yeah, I think I'm going to vote to reverse on 10, the FALA, sustain charge number 10.
I'll agree with that.
And I meant cancel and bond.
Yeah, I mean, I read all 80 pages of this thing twice. And in my time here, which hasn't been that long, but it's been relatively long, I have yet to see this many people from a community, different people, who don't even appear to have an axe to grind against anybody, show up to testify at one of these hearings. And it was obvious, and is obvious, that this place has negatively affected their lives ever since they started using DJs and did bottomless brunches. And it was obvious that the owner, as well as the managers, were made aware of it on multiple occasions by the police and the residents, and basically stuck his nose at them. And I just don't see any reason why this place should continue operating when it's obvious that he has absolutely no respect for the community, his neighbors, or us, for that matter, and obviously the police department as well, who tried diligently to try to work something out and were unable to. So I'm going to vote to cancel and bond as well for the same reasons Commissioner Fan noted, and I'm going to vote to sustain the availance because I think that management agreement is not a management agreement. It amounts to a partnership agreement.
Thank you.
Next, item 2380, 39 Fantastic Bar, Inc.
I'm sorry, Tom, what's the number?
It is 2380.
Good afternoon.
Can you just put your name on the record?
Yes, my name is James, last name Wang, W-A-N-G, representative.
Can we just get some guidance here? What was this?
Yeah, so, Mr. Wong, just so you know what's going on, this was before the members at the last board meeting. And the members were going to send it back to the ALJ to get clarification about one issue. In the meantime, it turned out that there was a couple issues that the ALJ has to address. And that's why we're here. So we're not here, the members are not here to impose a penalty at this point.
Yes, can I?
Yeah, go
if I
ahead.
can add, it appears that there was a inconsistency between the pleading that was put on the record during the hearing and the last served pleading. The last served pleading had virtually all of the same counts, although in a different order, and one new count, which I believe is count 12. So what we need the ALJ to do, assuming the commissioners agree, is to make sure that the holdings that are in the opinion apply to the proper charges.
Well, the hearing will have to be reopened for the introduction of the correct pleading.
And then they'll correct then they would have to correct the decision.
Right.
And then the decision should be corrected, but I don't believe that as to 11 of the 12 charges, there's any difference. There is some question, I think, for the ALJ to consider about whether the evidence that was already in the record supports charge 12, which we leave to the ALJ to determine.
Yeah, I don't think there's any need for any further evidence to be submitted by either
Counsel's
party.
office does not intend to put in any more evidence.
All right, so then send it back to the ALJ to reopen to accept the pleading that should have been accepted at the hearing and to then analyze the evidence to determine if any charge needs to be affected by that new pleading.
You also want that other directive to continue.
Yes.
About
With respect to the detail on the evidence.
Yes.
So, Mr. Walken, the members are sending this back to the ALJ. Okay.
Okay.
Correct? correct the problem completely. There'll be a new ALJ report issued that you will get.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. I'm going to tell Joe.
We're taking a brief recess. We are back on the record after a brief recess. Next item is 2407, JJ Sport Bar and Restaurant Corp. Anybody?
20 what now?
2407.
Let's just do it.
All right, go ahead.
I'll grant the recon and to accept the check.
Yes, I was.
Next item, 2394, 319 West 51st Street, Rest, Inc.
Should we do all four of them together?
Good afternoon, Chairman, Commissioner, everyone. Rosa Ruiz, representative for 319 West 51st, offering compromise of cancellation of bond.
How many of these do we have? There are four. Let's do all four.
Well, so the next one then is, the other one is 2395, 2390, 91.
So,
and then 2388 and 89.
2388.
All right, so it's
I got it.
2389.
Okay. So here's my problem with these cancels and bonds. One, is your client there?
Yes.
Why don't you bring him up?
Is he there?
Yes, he's walking over.
So,
Good afternoon.
one, he sat here in this room that I'm in and lied right to my face when he indicated to me that he didn't have any ongoing issues with our agency. Not only did he have ongoing issues, he had a multitude of ongoing issues. That's one. Two, most of these issues, or not most, but a good portion of them as a former prosecutor, are crimes. He's falsifying business records. He's falsifying checks. He's doing stuff, he's falsifying licenses. He's doing stuff that I put people in jail for previously. So if you think that I'm going to give him a cancel and bond so at some point he's going to go get another license in the near future, you're out of your mind. So I'm at revoke and bond on every one of them. And you can go to hearing on every one, and if we win one, it'll be revoke and bond.
Okay.
And this really should be, I'm going to ask my counsel to see if the Attorney General's office is interested in a case like this, because the stuff that went on here, the fraud and the misdirection that he tried to play is borderline. It's not even borderline. He was committing felonies to try to fool us. So he's out of the alcohol business today.
Yes, he is, and that's why he's doing the cancellation and bond. He's not doing this business anymore. He's not doing a cancellation and bond just so he can go and apply for a license at another time. It's just so that
then the revoke and bond won't affect his life in the least. So that's the counter offer.
But then I cannot accept the counter offer, because then that would put the address in jeopardy for these landlords.
It's going to anyway, because the minute that we prove any of these charges and it comes back here, I'm revoking them, and I'm going to put a 2-year prescription on them. Right now, I haven't done that.
Mm-hmm.
Because they let this go on. So they probably deserve a 2-year prescription. So you can decide. The letter's coming in the mail.
Okay. All right, just so I can say I'm not accepting the revocation.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to agree with the chairman with open bond.
So now, if he goes to
Send it
hearing,
back to hearing?
if he goes to hearing, it's revoking a 2-year prescription.
Okay. Thank you.
Next item 2404, Tony's Pier Restaurant 8.
Good afternoon, everybody. Matthew Leone for the licensee. This is a conditional no contest plea to settle the case for a $6,000 civil penalty. We were also asking,
So withdraw charge 2 at the request of counsel's office.
Yeah, that was what we were asking. Thank you.
Yeah, it was at 6,000, but I just, remind you should know this, that you write a letter about how summer months and all these things happen when it's summer, but if you look at the date of the charges, it's barely summer, so just telling the client that don't make excuses.
It's not barely summer, it's Easter.
Spring and summer. But I understand the point. Thank you.
Okay.
Next item I have is 2369, B&B Limbach LLC.
Good afternoon, Thomas McCowan on behalf of the licensee. I'm confident you read my controversy.
Sustain, yes, we did. Sustain 1, dismiss 2, 3, sustain 4, sustain 5.
Let me bring one thing to your attention, Chairman. The second charge was dismissed by the ALJ because the mode of operation was not put into evidence, but opinion expressly states that there There was no kitchen on the premise. So that is a document.
Is it a restaurant?
Yeah, that is a document that the ALJ did not have, but you have at your fingertips here if you wanted to reconsider that.
If I can address that, council, the original floor plans, which were there and are of record because I did a FOIL, Freedom of Information request, did not call for a full kitchen. Since its initial licensing in 2013, it called for a prep kitchen, which is still there.
Is it a restaurant?
No, it's a bar. It's a towny. It's a town bar in the town I live in, so I know it not well, but I know it.
No, I'm mistaken. I had some information that I guess is wrong, that this was supposed to be a full restaurant.
I know this is a bar.
Okay. All right, never mind, Counselor. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm at 25.
2,500. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item I have is 2357, Union Square Catering Facility, Inc.
I will take 3,500 instead.
Is this place a catering facility now, the coffee shop?
Now, what happened was the coffee shop was unable to renew its lease. It's been closed since November of 18. License has been surrendered. This was a matter disciplinary from New Year's of 18 that's ricocheted around, but the premises has been closed. I offered 3,500. You counter-offered with cancellation, but it's an active licensee principal, and he just didn't want that blemish on his record.
Okay.
Therefore, I requested civil penalty in lieu of a cancellation.
All right, I'll accept.
Okay.
Grant the recon and accept the 3,500.
Thank you. Have great holidays. Thanks.
Are you good with that?
Yes, thank you.
Next time I have is 2383, Humberto's Rice and Beans LLC.
Good afternoon, members of the authority, Chairman Bradley, Commissioner Fan, Council.
Thanks, sir.
Why were they open at 3 o'clock if they're supposed to close at 2?
He wasn't there that night, and it was not a regular occurrence. That was a fluke. They were cleaning up, and then they left it open until they finished cleaning instead of closing and then cleaning. So he's not had a disciplinary with the SLA, Humberto, and his name is Candido de Leon, but we call him Humberto. He's never had a issue with the SLA. And he owns other.
He's only been open for 2 years. That's what am I supposed to applaud him
Oh
for
no,
that?
I mean he owns supermarkets. He's never had an issue with you guys either.
I'll
So
accept.
thank you, members. Have a happy holidays. Thank you for everything.
I had called item 2407. No one came up, but apparently somebody is here for that.
Yeah, we already did it.
I know.
What do we do?
This was the recon that was
We
granted.
granted it.
So this matter was already called. Nobody came up. The member is granted reconsideration. The request was granted.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
John, do I have anything else signed in?
In the mail, right?
Yeah, you'll get some. Yeah. Okay. We have no one else here.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ready to go? Mm-hmm. All right, 2353.
2053?
2353.
I'm going to cancel bond.
Just so that you know, my information is that even though there was a non-modified charge here, it is still operating as a deli.
And a casino.
Yeah. I was canceling bond.
Canceling bonds.
2354.
Canceling bonds.
Canceling bond.
2358.
Canceling bond.
Cancel for the record, yes.
Oh, no bond available?
I don't.
No, we got bid bond.
Yeah.
2359.
This is canceled for the record.
Cancel for the record.
Right.
2360.
What time is I'll accept.
I'll accept.
2361,
Cancel one.
Cancel bond.
2362,
3500 accept.
I'll accept.
2363,
1500
Accept.
2364,
Accept.
1500 accept.
good with that, 2365,
Accept.
Accept.
2366,
4500.
4,500.
2370,
Accept. Oh, yeah, accept.
6000 accept.
2371,
I am 6000 accept.
Accept.
2372,
7500 accept.
Accept.
2373,
I don't like this one. Fifth disorderly. Yeah, it's not great. 445 bike.
I did this already.
So accept.
Accept.
Which one? 23
73,
was just accepted?
yes. 2374,
4500 accept.
Accept.
2375,
And then 6500.
I got 9,000.
9000.
5,
9.
9. 2379,
And then cancel.
Cancel bond.
Hold on. Right.
next item, 2381, Mr. Palillo, even though it's a default, contact me, would like to be an adjournment, he is otherwise engaged with personal matter.
Aren't we all? Okay.
Yeah,
Did you dig your,
81?
yeah, did you dig your car out?
You mean in Rhinebeck? Yeah.
2382,
Wait, so we are adjourning 2381?
Yes.
To
115.
115.
I'll accept.
6000 accept.
2384,
Accept.
50,000 accept.
2387,
Accept.
Accept.
2393,
Cancel for the record.
Cancel.
2396,
Accept.
Accept.
2397,
Accept.
Accept.
2398,
Accept.
Accept.
2406.
12,000 accept.
I have nothing else. Chip, anything else?
No, we're done.
And we forgot to announce the other.
Yeah, I do.
We'll put something on the website.
Yes. And if anybody is watching, we go ahead and announce it now.
All right. The only board meeting in January will be January 15th. It'll start at 10:30. The only board meeting in February will be February 13th. That is a Thursday. There will be no other board meetings in January or February. And we are adjourned.